fees and a wrongful eviction.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2062, Bahar versus Soroki.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bahar, how old are you?
38.
What do you do for a living?
I used to be a cosmetologist.
What do you do now?
I'm not doing anything right now.
Who are you living with?
I lived in hotels. I'm staying now with a friend for 3 weeks.
How do you support yourself?
I'm on income that comes every month. I'm on disability right now.
Is your disability of a physical nature or psychological nature?
It's both.
And how much do you collect from disability?
Around $900.
A month?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long have you been on disability?
About 10 years.
10 years. And when were you a cosmetologist?
I started back when I was 16, during high school time. And I started doing hair, and I went to hair school, and then I ended up getting really sick. So I went back and forth to doing hair. And then I just couldn't do it anymore.
Well, when did you said you were a cosmetologist? When were you a cosmetologist?
During high school years, so it was like around 2000.
Oh, well, that's a long time ago. We're talking about ancient history.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is that since you were in your mid-20s, you have been on disability.
Yes.
And how old are you, sir?
69.
You're a single man.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me how you met the plaintiff.
About 4 years ago, she called me. I do auto brokering, where somebody wants a vehicle, and I go to the dealer and try to make the best deal for them, just like a real estate agent.
Tell me how she got your number.
So I advertise on Facebook, I advertise on LinkedIn. So I don't know exactly how she got my number.
How'd you get his number?
The truth is, I never got his number. What happened was, we talk about, I'm looking for a car, I'm selling, I want to sell my car. He messaged me, hey, I sell cars, I can help you.
That's
3
not
years.
true.
That's very true. I have all the messages through Facebook and everything. But he messaged me, I can help you. How are you? Good morning. I said, okay, you can help me. But
Okay, I got enough.
Yeah.
All right, so let me sort of outline this case the way I am now putting it all together. You came on to some hard times, harder than usually your life is because of your disability, and you were in your apartment, according to you, and the building had a fire. Because of the fire, you became homeless. You had already known the defendant. He did something for you with a car. And you were living alone, I assume, in this apartment, paying in rent.
It was $790.
Okay, so you were paying $790 for the apartment that burned down.
I'm sorry, $690. I apologize, $690.
And how long had you lived there?
It would have been 5 years exactly.
Okay, would have been 5 years before the place burned
Yes,
down.
ma'am.
And
But, Your Honor,
what?
they were evicting her.
At the time of the fire?
Yes,
No.
yes. And then
Just a sec, 1 sec. Don't shout out again. However, I find that interesting. She was living there for 5 years, and how do you know that she was being evicted?
she showed me the paperwork.
May I see it?
Yeah, it's my phone. Here's the letter that she had with the management.
Okay, good. Thank you. I just see your request for a hearing, and the hearing was for what?
It was dismissed. I had...
No. The hearing's for what? Was it for an eviction?
No.
What was it for?
I had COVID, and I had Sarah Pay.
Are you not understanding me?
No, hearing for what? I'm sorry.
I said, was the proceeding an eviction notice?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an eviction notice.
They don't have proceedings for COVID. They have an eviction case. You may say, I don't have money because of COVID, and they give you time to pay. Were you served with an eviction
It was
notice?
a warning to go to court.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
For what? For speeding, for robbery, for assault, or for an eviction?
For non-payment.
For eviction. Listen. For eviction.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Only because when I told the judge said it's not an eviction.
I don't care what you told the judge. You were
No, he
brought
told
to
me.
court for an eviction.
Your
Kevin,
Honor.
would you
My-
return this
my
to her, please?
landlord took
Your
$9,000
yeah, just
from
a second.
Sarah.
Just a second. Ms. Bahara, let me explain something to you.
ma'am.
I don't know whether you watch me in the past or whether you don't watch me in the past, but I want you to know that I know exactly who you are. I know exactly how you live. I know exactly how you support yourself. I know who you are. I know all of that. So let's not play with each other. So when I ask you, did you go to court for an eviction? The answer is yes. You want to explain it to me if I ask you what happened? Well, I paid it, and they COVID, they couldn't throw me out because it was COVID. You're not allowed to evict somebody during COVID. You want to explain that to me if I'm interested? That's fine. But if I say to you, were you summoned to court for an eviction? The answer is
Yes. Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
Whether that had any impact on the fire in this building, I have no idea.
No, I don't. It didn't.
I have no idea.
And
The
when she
plaintiff
said-
says she was a heroine in this fire, according to her complaint, and she got a lot of people out of the building, and the things in her apartment were unscathed. Now, prior to that time, had you done anything other than help her secure a car?
No.
Did you help her secure a car?
No, I couldn't get it because her credit was terrible.
Just a second. Did she want a car?
Yes.
Okay,
Two
what
different
kind of a
times.
car did she want? That's the reason that you met.
The first time, something inexpensive like a GMC Terrain. The second time, she wanted a 2017 or 2018 Lincoln. I think it's MKX or MKZ.
What was she driving when she contacted you? Nothing.
Right.
Did she ever buy a car?
From me, no. But she did get one from a dealer. I don't know how they did it because
Uncross.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you currently own a car?
No, I don't own a car. Well, now I have a car, yes.
That's what I asked.
Yes.
Yes, do you understand? You have to let me introduce you to the truth. Mr. Truth, I'd like you to meet the plaintiff. Do you have a car?
Yes, ma'am.
No, you're only nervous now because you know I understand you. You now have a car. And where are you living now?
With my friend.
Where were you living prior to that?
Hotel rooms.
When did you purchase the car?
March 27th.
What kind of car did you buy?
That was the Terrain.
What year?
2017.
How much was it?
With everything, I think it went up to $24,000.
How much of a down payment did you put down?
$2,000.
And you financed the rest with whom?
They financed it with.
they had to go to a third-party lender.
I don't care. Do I look like I need your help?
No.
No, because I'm trying to find out how this lady managed to save up $2,000 to put down on a car. Car has insurance, car has gas, car has expense. You have to buy food, you need to take care of your hair. Looks like you buy nice clothes, look like you have some jewelry that's more than $900 a month. And you've been really on the doles for a decade. So I'm just trying to square all this with what I'm seeing. Do you understand where I'm going?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Now, so this is what you're complaining about. The defendant, after you called him, said, well, I have a spare room in my condo. You can come with me. And you say, well, I have all my stuff that I've accumulated in my apartment, and I have only one storage unit to put it in, and I'll have to pick through and discard stuff, blah, 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 because I can't afford a second storage unit. And according to you, the defendant said, I'll pay for the second storage unit. And at some point after you moved in with him and threw you out, he reversed the charges. And so you were charged for your storage unit for your stuff. That's part of your lawsuit, $600. Now, the main part of your complaint, for which you want almost $6,000, is for punitive damages because you claim that Mr. Soroki, while you were living with him, rent-free, food-free, everything free, made unwanted advances towards you. And I'm certain that what you did was put in this complaint the most egregious things that he did to you, because you would want me to know the most egregious things that he did to you, right? Okay.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea, too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that.
Marilyn Bahura claims her former friend, Douglas Soroki, owes for storage fees and a wrongful eviction. Douglas is countersuing for property damage and false accusations.
So let me read to you what you say he did to you, the unwelcomed advances. He would walk around the house in his underwear.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, I didn't ask you anything. These are the most egregious things. And he patted my behind when he walked past me.
Not true.
Now, just a second. Those were the first two things that you tell me that he did to you. Now, how many times do you say he touched you?
Between
on the
7 and
behind?
8 times.
7 to 8 times. Okay. When did you live with him?
I moved in March 5th of the fire.
And how long did you stay?
Till the 31st
Of what?
of March.
And what happened on the 31st of March?
I was trying to make phone calls to get a car behind his back because he took the privileges from using his car.
Just a second. So while you were living with him, he let you use his car when you needed it. And then he told you couldn't use his car anymore?
So he didn't tell me. What he did was on the 24th, he said, we're going to go to my son-in-law. I sold the car to some lady. Come with me. Let's drop it off, which is the Cadillac that I'm using because he has 2 cars. He ended up getting the electric Audi. He said, just use my car. Now, keep in mind, he's letting me use that car since March 3rd. March 4th, my house burns down at 1 a.m. So he goes and gives a car to some lady. We drop it off all the way.
Date?
March 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so that's March 24th.
So I have no more car at this point. So the Cadillac is gone now.
You didn't have a car when you were living someplace else. So moving in with him, you had a car.
Yes.
Which was very nice because you hadn't had a car previous to that. So now we dropped the car off and now you didn't have a car.
Yes.
That's March 24th.
Right.
Then what happened?
I was trying to still figure out, and we had talked
You
about
tried? You didn't finish to say you were trying to figure out what?
figure out how to get a car, like to see what I can
Okay,
do.
so you were trying to get a
Yeah.
car.
As for the money, the way it was saved, I had to go.
Just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't tell me you had a GoFundMe page.
I did. I did. It was for the fire.
Just a second.
It was his idea too.
No.
I got it.
Got it? Oh, I'm dying to see that. Okay. You drove a car. Go pick somebody up, take them back. I don't know how that would be affected by your disability because clearly you were able to drive. I'm going to get past that. We're back to March 24th. Now you're making calls when he's not around to try to get a car because you no longer have a car. You leave on March 31st. You want to tell me what the circumstances were that caused you to leave on March 31st?
So March 26th, he said, can you please go to a friend's house? I'm bringing a girl over. I said, yes, no problem. It's his house.
Okay.
You can do that. I said, can you please drop me off? I have a friend that was supposed to be my witness today. She wasn't feeling good. Can you drop me off because it's only 15 minutes where he's from? He said, yes, no problem.
And when you slept in the defendant's condo, you had your own room?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we got up and everything was fine. He was rushing me out. We were talking, and as he showed me a picture of who he's bringing, I told Doug, shut my room door because I have stuff in there. So he dropped me off. I went to my friend. It was actually my friend's birthday.
I don't care.
Okay. So in the morning at 10 a.m., I get a text message showing me a 1-dish plate on the sink. And he's like, you couldn't do a dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house. I said, anyway, should they drop me off or do you want to come get me? I want to come back home. He's like, no, I'll come get you. I'll pick you up. He came, he got me. We sat in the car. I said, hi. He's like, I asked you to do one fit. I said, wait, the dish? I said, I cleaned the whole house and everything. We went back to the house.
Then what happened?
He knocks on the door and he says, pack up. I'm calling you Uber, leave. I said, I have nowhere to go. Where am I going to go? What do you mean leave? He said, I just don't want you here anymore.
Now, this is on the 27th. He tells you to leave. You call the police.
No, he called the police. I told him to call the police.
No, she
Oh,
didn't tell me.
just a second, because you didn't want to leave.
I
Because
didn't have nowhere to go.
you didn't want to leave.
It's not that I didn't have nowhere to go. I had no car to leave
Well,
anywhere.
just a second. Are you living at a hotel after
Yes,
this?
I did.
After this. And how did you get to the hotel?
The guy that I purchased the car from brought it to his house, brought me that car
So
on the
you
31st.
just a second. So we asked you to call. They came, and they evidently said you could stay
1 week.
1 week. They
What
told you
happened
could.
was there was 2 cops.
I don't need a whole story. Did they
He
let
said,
you
how
stay?
long would you like for you to have? I said, I need some time. I have nowhere to go. That's when.
Just
Yes, ma'am.
a week. But you left on the 31st. Did anything else happen between the 27th and the 31st?
No.
You packed up your things,
Yes.
and a car was delivered,
Yes.
and you left.
Yes.
There were no incidents.
No.
And so just so that I'm totally clear and understand, on the 27th, you were in a safe place in somebody's house. You have your own bank account because GoFundMe.
I have the page.
Oh, may I see it, please?
Sure. And the description
Okay.
is here. And that's how much it's.
Okay. My name is Marilyn, and I'm a fire survivor. Place where I lived caught fire. I left my apartment to go upstairs. I knew it was too late for one of my neighbors. I had to scream. I will make a long story short. It's taken a toll on me and everyone else. My main goal was to save everybody. We ended up losing everything because we had to leave the premises and we were not allowed to go back for 24 hours to remove what was left in our apartment. As for me, I now have nowhere to go and I need help to get into a place. I had to borrow a friend's transportation to get around, rent out a storage, and put everything there that I can. At this point in my life, it feels like a dream, and so far, you asked for $7,000, and so far you raised $1,772 from soft-hearted Americans. These people got to stay off the internet. I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And you've managed to find a place to go and find. Don't speak back to me.
Marilyn Bahura has accused her former friend, Douglas Soroki, of sexual harassment while living with him. Douglas says Marilyn
$1,500. You didn't have a car before.
I had a
car. You told me you didn't have a car before. Is that what you said, Whitney?
Time, yes.
She didn't have a car before.
During that time.
Well, at that time is what I'm talking about. At the time of the fire, when you were living at this $690 a month apartment, you didn't have a car. You see, what I don't understand, madam, is that in the whole litany of your travails and troubles with the defendant, it sounded to me, a little bizarre. Taking in somebody he didn't know, dating somebody else, bringing somebody else to his husband. He's a 69-year-old man. He can do what he wants to do. He's not asking you for anything. You pay for your own storage. If you had to pay for your own storage, pay it out of the GoFundMe page. The thing that's most irritating to me is that you now, in order to get money from him, you sued him for sexual advances. And if they were so horrific to you, you've lived in motels before. You've lived in hotels before. You have friends. But it's sort of outrageous to try to convince me that you were so outraged by his conduct and still stayed, and when he tried to get you out, try to convince the police to let you stay because it was your home. That's what I don't understand.
The police said that she has...
Just a second. Do you understand what I just said?
Everything you're saying is not how it happened. Everything's a lie because he gave me the car 2 days before the fire. He told me I have an extra room. I'm going to help you come clean my house. I'll give you $300. Get back on. This is the truth. I'll get you back on your feet. I did lose my home. I did save people. Yes, I am.
You're not understanding what I'm saying?
I was over there for free. I paid for food. I helped him too. The car he'd give me, I go back and forth, help him bring in his papers to the car dealerships.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think he owes you for? You're going to pay your own storage unit. That's why you went on a GoFundMe page.
He said do the GoFundMe. He called one of his friends from California. He's the one that sent $500. Yes, I saved it. That money from the GoFundMe and from whatever I got from my friend, I have proof right here that he promised everything. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. This is all him saying.
Take care of yourself. I find it unbelievable for a person as strong as you are that if he was doing these things that were so irritating to you, there's the door. And what I have a problem with is that some people really are subject in their workplace, in a domestic situation, abusive people. And when you try to use it to get money from, well, that's what you're here for. That's what you're suing him for. $6,000.
Right,
$6,000. $6,000. Just a second. Don't tell me you had nowhere to go. You've had some place to go for 38 years. For 38 years, you've managed to find a place to go and find. Don't speak back to me. You've managed to find some place to go for 38 years and without working, hustle to live. However that was, whether it's through relief or food stamps or disability payments or cosmetics on the side, you've managed to not work and live. Well, that's what you told me. That's what you told me. Don't look quizzically. You've managed to not work and to live. Somebody who may have had ulterior motives. 70 doesn't go into 38, sir. 38 goes into 70, but 70 doesn't go into 38. So I would stay within my ballpark if I were you. Do you understand? And it doesn't belie credulity, which means I can actually understand that a single guy, 70 years old, now has somebody who's relatively attractive that he's extended a hand to come and live with him, and he made an agreement with her. I don't even have to go into it, that she would take care of the apartment, she would clean up the apartment, she wouldn't have to pay you rent, she could use your car, all of that stuff. And there is no question in my mind, in your head, that somewhere down the pike there was going to be a payday. Just a second. Maybe, maybe not. However, the plaintiff has 2 good feet, and she was out of your house, and she insisted on coming, as she calls it, home. I had to go home. And then when the police came, she insisted on staying home. Okay, your case is dismissed. Listen, sir, you made a mistake.
I made a mistake.
You made a mistake.
Yeah.
Your mistake just got dressed down in an international forum, because there's no question in my mind that this lady, who lives by her wits, if she didn't want to live someplace, she wouldn't live there. So your case is dismissed, as is your counterclaim. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I am a very humble person. I don't hurt people. I'm a giver.
Well, she knew that the girl was lying, and I knew that she'd catch it right up front.
She's the judge, right? But, you know, the real judge is God. And that's who I put my faith in.
You can't do anybody a favor. She had a fire.
And she may have seen me dressed up nice. I'm going to take care of myself, whether I am homeless or not.
She called me at 1 or 2 in the morning, had nowhere to stay, so I let her in.
I'm not going to come as a scrub. I'm not a scrub, so.
You know, people have to be so careful on GoFundMe, and there's no fact check on the internet. There's no way to tell whether she really did lose her belongings and was homeless from a fire or not. People can write whatever they want on the internet. And it really rubbed me the wrong way, because I thought I read in her sworn papers for today, she said, I was able to save most of my belongings because my unit did not burn to the ground. And you read the complete opposite on her GoFundMe page, that she was using to solicit money from innocent people online. And that really rubs me the wrong way, because you're going to swear to this here in court today, but there is no such sworn testimony for the internet.
We've seen a few cases like that, even people feigning illness. And it's actually just a testament of the good-hearted people that live in this country that will give a total stranger, based upon a caption, $10, $100, just makes them feel better. But when you find somebody who abuses it, it really hurts everybody, because people will look at these GoFundMe pages, some of which are legitimate, as potential scams.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a woman who lives by her wits, and he's an older guy who should know.
Insurance deductible and filing a false police report.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2074, Marshall versus Fugate.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, you live across the street from Mr. Fugate and his mother.
Yes,
How long have you lived in your house?
22 years.
And Mr. Fugate, how long have you lived in your house?
Your Honor, my mom has lived in the house far longer than I have. She's lived in it since 2008. I moved in 2016.
Mr. and Mrs. Marshall, this problem that I'm going to try to rectify today deals with parking space.
Yes.
And the parking space is a public parking space, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And it's on the street, and the public parking space happens to be in front of your home.
Yes, ma'am.
You live across the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And the case involves acrimony that has developed because you, Mr. Fugate, would like to keep that spot that's in front of your home free for your mother, who you say for health reasons it would be more convenient for her to park right in front of the house.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. and Mrs. Marshall sometimes or always park in that spot. That's what the problem is.
Yes.
Okay. And I assume you're going to speak for your husband for now?
I can, yes.
Do you want her to talk for you?
Sorry.
He learns his lessons well. Oh, that's very good. Perfect.
I can speak for myself.
Perfect.
If she need to, she can.
Perfect. You've been living there a long time. Did you have any trouble with the Fugate family about this parking space between 2008 and 2016?
No.
So before the son moved in, you had no problem?
That's right.
Had you ever, just a second, Had you ever had discussions with Mrs. Fugate about parking in that spot before he came?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Fugate, did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I want you to be very careful in your answer to me.
Yes, ma'am.
You've lived there for a long time.
Yes,
Your son didn't move in until 2016. Before your son moved in, did you ever have any communication with Mr. and Mrs. Marshall about parking in front of your house? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you tell me what changed after her son moved in?
Okay, where I park at is actually across the street from the Fugates. It's right by my driveway, and I park my Toyota Avalon right beside my driveway, which is the parking spot that Mr. Fugate is causing the problems over.
So it's the parking spot is in front of your house?
No, it's not in front of my house, it's beside my driveway.
But on your side of the house?
That's
on your
correct.
side of the street?
Correct.
Do they have a parking space in front of their house on their side of the street?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you ever park there?
I have. When they took the parking space I usually park in, I did park across the street.
Okay, so occasionally, either Mr. Fugate, his mother, parks on your side of the street, on a public street, and you'll park in front of their house.
Correct.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so let me tell you all this. We're going to finish part of the case right now. Too bad. You can park wherever you want on a public street because there are other visitors that come, I assume, for people who live on the block, that they take up parking spaces, and occasionally there aren't other parking spaces. You know, there's no question you would prefer to park on your side of the street, and you would prefer to park on your side of the street. If you can't, you can't. Mr. Fugate, I'm just telling you, just so that you know, you have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, I understand that, Your Honor. I'm not the one that needs to be told that, though.
You have no right to a public parking space.
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, in what state?
Ohio, Cincinnati.
Okay, I've actually been to Cincinnati frequently, but I am certain that there is no regulation in Ohio or any city or town thereof that says, well, you sort of had first dibs on the parking space on the public street that's in front of your house. That's ridiculous.
The best that Cincinnati has, Your Honor, but that's the best that they have.
You live across the street from each other. Did either of you ever call the police and say a car has been there for more than 3 days?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who did?
I did, Your Honor.
Why?
Because the spot in question that's directly across the street is actually, it's hindering to the entire flow of the neighborhood and where everybody parks on the street. I served 10 years Army, and I fought for people.
Listen, I don't care if you're a good person, if you're not a good person, if you're a do-gooder, if you're not a do-gooder. It's a public street. And if what you're suggesting to me is they should be nice, it's an older person, and they shouldn't park in that spot, what I'm telling you is I wouldn't start up with anybody by calling the police on a car that especially a car that I knew. I know that it's my neighbor's car. They've been living there for 22 years, relatively peacefully. Relatively peaceful.
It hasn't really been peaceful, Your Honor.
You moved there.
Yes, I did.
They were living there a decade before you moved there. You.
Yes, ma'am.
If it wasn't peaceful, there are options. You're a free person. But I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I cannot imagine my calling the police on a neighbor's car that was parked in the street. Well, that created problems. Okay, so I see where we're going. We're going to get to this case. Reimbursement for insurance deductible, that's one thing, because you claim that Mr. Fugate damaged your car.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
That was on June the 26th.
Of this year?
Of 21, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have any video evidence of the damage to your car?
No, ma'am. All I have is a picture.
Tell me how he damaged the car. With what did he damage the car?
Okay, he damaged the car with his hand. I'm parking the car.
You mean in front of?
In front of Mrs. Fugate's home.
So on her side of the street?
Yes, ma'am. I exit the car. Mr. Fugate is being erratic.
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me what your perception of, tell me what he did.
He was beating the hood of the car.
He came up to the car and was hitting the top of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now I'll see the car and the police report. See the dent, and that's the... Okay, this police report says Mr. Fugate told the police in his narrative that this incident occurred, there was a disagreement over the parking space, and that you struck him with the car, causing minor injury. Okay, because you have a cross complaint for that.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's a simple. June 26th, I see the car was damaged. There's no question it was damaged by somebody pounding on the hood, and I assume that was you.
Ma'am, that's wrong. I did not pound on the hood.
Well, then tell me, Mr. Fugate, how these dents occurred, just the way they look, on the hood of the car.
Your Honor, I have the 911 audio calls of the night, as well as the police report, and I also drew up a diagram where she was originally parked that explains everything. But,
okay, so I'd like to see that. Okay.
Ma'am, if I could approach the diagram.
Absolutely. June 26th.
On June 26th, I was talking to my parents when the marshals came home. My car was parked right here. Okay, they came home, they blocked their own driveway and parked right up on top of my bumper.
Just a second.
I...
Just a second. So you, Mr. Fugate, were parked on a public street where you could park on their side of the street, not your side of the street, okay?
Yes, sir.
And they came up blocking their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Did you see them? Were you in the house watching?
No, I was on my parents' porch.
Okay, so now you're on your parents' porch, they're in their car, and they blocked their own driveway.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Not a big ordeal, right?
Not any of your business.
Right, it wasn't, like I said, wasn't a problem to me,
wasn't any of your business.
Exactly. So
Go
anyway,
ahead.
I'm talking to my parents on the phone. They're just getting done working. I can hear that the marshals are upset about where I'm parked at on a public street. And I went out to save my parents' spot because I could hear her say, I'm going to teach him a lesson.
So, Mr. Fugate, now, is what you're telling me that car where you're standing in, you went out to make it so that they couldn't, to stand in the street, to block them from moving in front of your house because your car was parked on their side of the street.
No, no, Your Honor. No, you got that wrong.
Is that red car yours?
The red car is mine.
It's mine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Justice said the red car is yours. Listen, I'm not a moron.
I know that.
The white car is the space that you wanted to save for your parents.
Yes, Your Honor. They were on their way home. I was
Who
talking to
gives
them.
a rat's behind where they were? Now you have
This
both
whole
spots.
area was clear, and there is a crossing road that comes all the way through here, and they could have parked.
Who made you the monitor of public parking?
No one.
Who do you think you are to be the monitor of public parking?
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall claim their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, owe for an insurance deductible and filing a false police report. Joseph and Jennifer are countersuing for medical bills from an assault.
Now, you went out on a public street to go like this to save a parking space for your parents.
Yes, sir.
That you had no right to do. Let me just understand this. You had no right to go out there. You parked on their side of the street, and then you went outside to save the spot because your parents were on their way home.
Yeah,
Just a second. You have no right to do that. Zero. Don't you understand that?
No, actually, I don't understand that, Your Honor. How do I not have a right to save a spot?
You do not have a right to
my
save a
elderly
public...
parents.
Just a second. You don't have that right. Because I'm here to tell you, you don't have a right to save a spot on a public street by standing in the street like this. Don't park here.
And I'm
you
not
have
like this.
I don't care whether you were hopping on one foot and chewing gum. You don't have the right to save a spot, and it makes it twice as obnoxious because you parked on their side of the street. Now, if there was a spot in front of their house that they could park in, and they said, no, I'm going to park in front of the defendant's house, I could say, you know what? That's nasty.
Well, that's
Just
the
that's
thing,
nasty.
Your Honor.
Now you have
this
both
whole
spots.
area was clear, okay? And there is a crossing road that comes all the way through here, and they could have parked.
Who made you the monitor of public parking?
No one.
Who do you think you are to be the monitor of public parking? Public parking, you come out and you're standing in the street to save the spot. She comes around to park there, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell me what happened.
Well, she came around to park there, and then she hit me with her car.
Just a second. She came around to park there, and you were standing in the street.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, pay careful attention. Where did she hit you in the car before you moved?
She hit me in the knee.
In the knee. And so you jumped out of the way. No.
I fell on her car. I guess I was talking on the phone, and when she hit me in the knee, I fell on her car.
Baloney. That's not what this is. What was the damage to your car?
The damage.
That's baloney. That didn't happen because your elbow went on her car. Sir, if she hit you on the knee, she hit you on the knee with the front of her car, which is possible. By the way, you have medical records to show me?
I did.
I'd like to see them. The record should reflect that they closed this case, made no arrests in this case, and probably told everybody to behave themselves, which is what I'm doing.
I apologize.
Okay. What is this?
That is the ambulance bill for...
I want to see a medical record. I don't care if you went in an ambulance. I want to see what the doctor reported about your injury. Where is that?
I was unable to get that.
Well, that's too bad. Then I'm not interested in this. That's nonsense. Okay, how much did it cost to fix your car?
Here we are. Thank you.
And you had a $500 deductible?
Yes, ma'am.
$500 so far for the plaintiff. The counterclaim that talks about medical bills for this is dismissed. Okay, filing a false police report.
Yes, ma'am.
And the false police report you're talking about is what?
Mrs. Fieldgate initiated a confrontation with me.
When?
December the 22nd. I'm on my way to my vehicle. Mrs. Fieldgate is parked maybe like 10 feet behind me.
Put up the diagram again, please. Okay, just go over to the board. This is a different date, but I
Yes.
just want you to show me where she was and where you were.
Okay. Mrs. Fieldgate, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'm parked here.
In front of her house.
Correct.
Okay, so you're both on the same side of the street, which is the defendant's side of the street. You're parked across the street from your house.
That's correct.
Got it. Go ahead.
Okay.
What happened?
And Mrs. Fieldgate, she comes out of her car. She's walking towards me. She's upset. She's yelling. And I don't remember all of the words that she was saying, but it was about parking. She was telling me I couldn't park where I was parked at. She's yelling. She's screaming. I'm trying to
Okay.
reason with her.
Could you step back there?
Yes. I'm trying to reason with Miss Fieldgate. I'm telling her it's a public street and I can park there. She's yelling and screaming and telling me that I can't. We're standing in front of one another. She's still yelling and screaming. I'm trying to reason with her. Next thing I know, she hits me on the hand. My reflex, I pushed her back. Next thing I know, she's still standing after I pushed. Next thing I know, I guess she thought about it, and then she made herself fall on the ground.
Well, I don't know whether she did or not. Somebody said with regard to this that there's a video of this. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It was dismissed in court. It wasn't showed in court.
I
It was
don't
not-
care whether it's shown in court or not. I would like to see, because I read here that there is a security video of what happened
security cam.
on. If it's a video, you don't have to go up there, Ms. Fugate, because I can actually see it myself. So now, those are the two cars parked on the same side of the street, and they are parked on the defendant's side of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
And your car is the
Black car.
your car is the black car. Their car is the red car.
That's correct.
And that's Miss Fugate getting out of her car. Okay,
Yes,
now
ma'am.
I'd like to see the video.
She started to move up. So I thought I'd move my car a little closer.
Shh! Don't speak.
That's when she...
Shh. Okay, I'm going to see that again, please. Oh, no, Miss Marshall, you can't do that.
It wasn't my intention.
Oh, just a second.
When she
Oh, it was absolutely your intention.
No,
it was
not.
absolutely your intention, and there was. Listen, you know, I'm an equal opportunity abuser. You can't do that. You can't do what I just saw. What I just saw is unreasonable behavior and totally inconsistent to being. Maybe, which I didn't see, slapped on the hand.
Right.
Maybe slapped on the hand. I didn't see it. But I did see you give her a substantial shove, and she is a person who has a certain infirmity, and she fell. And if she fell, and if she was injured, you're responsible. That's it. I saw you give her a shove that didn't, as you say, she decided to fall back down. No, madam. You hit her with such force that she fell backward. You say no, I say yes.
Yeah.
I'm a judge. I win.
Sherry and Jeffrey Marshall have accused their neighbors, Joseph and Jennifer Fugate, of damaging their car. Jennifer claims she was assaulted by Sherry over a parking spot.
Now, I saw the video. I don't have to have your mother testify. You should have not created an incident, Mrs. Fugate.
I didn't.
Yes, no, yes, just a second. Yes, you did.
I was walking toward the car, and I was to go to my car and pull up because she was starting to pull her car up. And if you look, she started to pull her car up first. And then when she come around the car, she's holding her cell phone yelling, "I got you on recording. I'm recording you because I'm going to show you a hate crime." Excuse me.
Just a second. Part of the problem is you and your son have to understand your house. And your son clearly is a provocateur in this because he parks his car on their side of the street. I'm not getting, so what I'm doing is I am dissecting this case. If I have two unreasonable people, they're going to continue to make each other's lives miserable, and I can't control that. All I can do is hear each individual side. So, Mrs. Fugate, I have already said that Miss Marshall had no right, based upon what I saw, to push you with such force that you fell. I would like to see the medical report after the incident of December 22nd. May I see it, Kevin?
I was in the ER.
Okay.
And I had to wear a brace for a month on my arm and shoulder.
Did you have any out-of-pocket expense?
I paid $900 because it was Christmas holidays.
All I want to know is, did you have any out-of-pocket expense?
Yes, Your Honor.
And yes, I had.
Shh. What is this?
It's
I had to have a woman come in and clean my house.
I don't care about that.
That was out of.
I don't care about that. Return that to her. That's a cleaning bill for somebody to come in and clean. Let her clean. Okay. So, filing a false police report and false arrest. Who was arrested?
I was.
And you were arrested, in my judgment, legitimately, because of based upon what I saw. So I'm dismissing.
That is not why they arrested
Oh,
me.
okay. So that is not the reason that you were arrested. Was not this.
The reason why I was arrested is because when she hit me and when I pushed her back, when they asked me what happened, I did not tell them that she had struck me.
Miss Marshall, is the reason you were arrested based upon the occurrence of December 22nd? That's
Yes,
easy.
yes, it
Well,
was.
that's what I said. So don't say no. The reason you were arrested and claim falsely is as a result of the December 22nd incident.
But I was cleared.
I don't care whether you were cleared or not. I didn't clear you. The burden of proof in a criminal case is proof by beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? That is not the burden of proof in a civil proceeding. It's a much lower standard. I looked at that video. I believe that your conduct was unconscionable.
And not hers. You didn't see.
I think that her behavior was. I think that her behavior was stupid. I don't.
Yeah.
Just a second. I don't see her hitting you. I see you walking away, Miss Marshall. I see you walking away, but I saw you give her a shove that, as you say, she decided to fall back. So you on your case, I said, absolutely, I don't believe him. I don't believe that the damage to your car resulted from his putting his elbow on it. I told him, you have absolutely no right to save a space for your parents. I'm awarding...
The case is malicious.
Okay.
From what you saw him do, that's what she did. She installed a camera, set me up, manured me in front of the camera. She knew what she was doing when she hit me on the hand.
Okay, very...
Oh, she knew.
Just a second. Just a second.
All of it is
Just a second.
malicious.
It's not your judgment that I'm concerned about, madam. I'm telling you, based upon what I saw, I'm awarding Mrs. Fugate, who I think she and her son both have to understand what a public street is. I'm awarding her $2,000 on her counterclaim for her injuries as a result of the assault. I'm dismissing part of your claim for false arrest. I awarded you the $500 that you asked for your deductible. You got your $500. It's coming off the $2,000 that I've awarded Mrs. Fugate for her injuries. Judgment on the counterclaim for $1,500. Thank you very much. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I wouldn't have never maliciously pushed anybody.
I've been trying to tell this story forever.
I didn't know what else she was going to do. I was trying to protect myself.
It really does harden me that there are people out there that could go and just do this.
I have always been friendly. I never bother anyone. They keep bothering us.
We're really hoping that this does resolve the issue.
I just want them to leave us alone.
Bring them to Judy Justice.
Because she really does care.
You want to know how I know that the plaintiff wasn't being truthful when she said that I wasn't being malicious, it was an accident, I did not push her that hard? If that had happened to me and I was just trying to get someone away from me, and that reaction from the defendant of falling back, I thought she almost cracked her head on the curb. I would have said, I'm so sorry, oh my goodness, I would have gone down to her, I didn't mean to push you, let me help you up. The plaintiff just walked right back to her car, and you could see her face almost had a smirk on it, just walked right back to her car like she didn't even care. And that, to me, says you knew exactly what you were doing when you put your hands on that woman.
Yeah, and I didn't see a slap.
It could have happened.
I said it could have happened. It could have happened. I just didn't see it.
That reaction was
an
above and beyond,
overreaction.
of course.
Lee is suing pilot instructor Ed Meyer for damage resulting from Ed moving his plane.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2145, Lee versus Meyer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Lee, you are an amateur pilot?
Yes, I was yes.
And you owned your own plane?
I bought it to train in, yes.
When did you purchase the plane?
In, I believe, April of 2021.
Did you buy it new or used?
I bought it used.
What kind of plane is it?
It's a Cirrus SR-22, 2010 type Golf.
What did you pay for it?
I paid $420,000 for it, I believe.
Is there a mortgage on the...
Yes, there is.
How much?
It's $2,204 per month.
You paid $425,000 for the plane?
Yeah, I put a down payment on it. The outstanding balance is $347,000. The payment per month is $2,022.
I don't need the payment per month. I just wanted to know what you paid for it and how much you put into the plane.
Yes.
The defendant is a pilot, licensed pilot, and he was giving you some training on the plane.
Certified flight instructor, yes.
It is your claim that at some point, you'll tell me when, that the defendant was operating the plane by himself. You weren't there, and he was moving it from one part of the FBO to another part, and he hit a cone and caused substantial damage to the propeller and the engine. And while you had your insurance did cover some of it, according to you, it did not cover all of the expenses, and you want Mr. Meyer to be responsible for that. So it's a simple question. Mr. Meyer, do you remember the date that you were operating the plane when Mr. Lee was not there?
Yes.
What date?
It was in April sometime.
April of 2022?
Correct.
Do you remember the date, Mr. Lee?
Yes.
What date?
It's April 20.
But then the weather got bad. You decided that you would make your way home and that he would get the plane home when the weather was better.
Correct.
And that was on or about April 22nd.
I flew home on a commercial flight the day before on April 21st.
And you stayed with the plane?
Yes.
Now, would you agree, Mr. Meyer, that if in fact you hit an object with the plane, it would be your responsibility?
Yes.
Because it would mean that there was some sort of negligence involved.
Right.
And then that would be the issue of damages. Mr. Lee, you were not present when this incident happened?
I was
Not present.
I was not present. I was able...
No, you were not present.
I was not present.
That's the answer. Was this witness present?
He was not present, but he was the one responsible for procuring the evidence on what happened and how the propeller was damaged.
Who does he work for?
He has his own flight school, and he also manages my airplane in terms of the maintenance and the upkeep.
Okay. Could you step up, please? Tell me your last name.
Last name is Williams.
Mr. Williams, were you charged with gathering the evidence to determine what happened to the plane on the 22nd of April?
Yes, I was.
And you're paid a monthly fee by the plaintiff to manage his plane?
That's correct.
Did you retain the defendant as an instructor, or did Mr. Lee?
That was both decided by Mr. Lee and Mr. Myers to fly for him.
But you
He's
did
an
not.
independent contractor at that.
You did not have anything to do with, as the manager of the plane, you didn't have anything to do with selecting. Were you the one who introduced him to Mr. Meyer?
That's correct.
When, Mr. Lee, did you start to work with Mr. Meyer?
It was probably a prior flight where we flew to San Francisco for a business meeting I had. After that, I believe it was...
In what month?
Roughly about the same month.
In April?
Yeah, in
so
April.
You didn't
maybe.
know him for a long time?
No, not very long.
I'm going to get back to you in a minute, Mr. Williams. Prior to the defendant, had anybody else been an instructor for you?
Yes. Clinton was my primary instructor, but I flew with some other instructors as well.
But it wasn't until the month that this incident occurred that you had been connected with the defendant?
Correct.
Okay. Now, sir, how were you advised that the plane that you managed was in an accident?
I received a phone call from Ed saying that there was a problem.
From whom?
From Mr. Myers, that there was a problem with the aircraft after he taxied and did the run-up and returned the aircraft back to Signature in Las Vegas. We notified and contacted a...
Did you ask, what you would usually ask is what happened?
Yeah, what happened?
Just a second, and what did he say to you?
He said that he was having instrument problems with the aircraft and he wasn't able to take off, so he returned the aircraft. At that point in time, I contacted a Service Center, had 2 technicians go out and look at the aircraft, see what was wrong. At the time, the technicians found that they...
Don't tell me what they found.
Okay.
You can't tell me what they found. It's hearsay.
They send me pictures of the damage of the propeller.
May I see the photographs? Okay, so that's a fresh damage.
Correct.
Can I scroll this?
Yes, you may.
Or it's just one? Okay, so you have a picture of that. You have a picture of the cone that has a slice in it.
Correct, that's the object he hit. We also have a video showing the plane taxiing and hitting the cone at the time.
I'd like to see accurate representation of where the plane was before you moved it.
It should be on on the far left side of that Learjet.
Okay. Oh. Mr. Meyer, do you see that you went over a cone?
It's interesting. I didn't even notice there was a cone.
You may not notice it, but you see it now.
Yes.
Okay. Your hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little single-prop plane. Yeah, they're like those planes you used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
Albert Lee claims pilot instructor Ed Meyer is responsible for damage after Ed moved Albert's plane.
Okay.
In all of my years of flying, which is pretty significant, I was an airline pilot too, I've never, ever experienced that in my life.
Okay, but you see it now.
Yes.
It's not an on purpose. It's, that's why they call them accidents. We don't mean for them to happen.
Right.
We don't mean for them to happen, but you do see that the plane did hit a cone.
Right.
Okay, and I have photographs of the cone that has a slice in it, and the same kind of slice from one of the propellers. Now, so that's conceded that Mr. Meyer did, in fact, hit the cone, which in all probability caused damage to the plane, caused damage to the propeller. Now, tell me about your...
Of the engine. When something strikes the propeller, they have to tear apart the engine, make sure the components...
Do you have those
I
that
do.
paperwork for me? I'd like to see it.
Okay, so here is the insurance covered portion, and here is my covered portion that I had to come out of pocket to pick up the plane. And I
Okay.
can explain both invoices. And if you flip to the last page, that'll have the total. Insurance covered about 60-something thousand for the propeller and the engine teardown.
Okay. So the damaged propeller, Mr. Williams, causes you to have to take apart the engine, fix the engine if there was damage to the engine. Am I correct?
That's correct. The FAA requires anytime you strike an object with a propeller, the engine has to be inspected in the component parts. So they
Component parts of the engine.
Yeah, with the damage, potential damage of the engine. Internal damage that could be caused by striking an object.
Okay. The insurance covered how much, sir? Mr. Lee?
It's, sorry, it's on the invoice 60, I think it was 63,000, 64,000. It's on the last page.
The last page shows
a deposit of
$63,000.
Yes, that's it.
The deposit was 40, balance due was 23. Did the insurance company pay the entire
They
63?
paid this entire
$63,000. This is what was submitted to them.
Yes.
Okay, now I'd like you to take a look at this, Mr. Meyer. No, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Williams to take a look at this document. These are the items, Mr. Williams, that Mr. Lee says were uncovered. I would like you to go through all those items and tell me which of those items relate to the engine and which do not.
Okay, is this the total?
Carefully, because I'm going to potentially ask you.
Most of the items that you see that are airworthiness on the airframe are the items that need to be inspected or replaced from the teardown. So your item 1, item 2, 3, 4, item 5, 6, 7, 8. These are all items that the repair shop goes through the engine and assesses whether it needs.
Well, tell me how the brakes would be impacted.
I don't think
impacted by hitting the.
Which invoice?
And I don't know, but how brakes would be impacted by hitting a nose cone.
Brake lining, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, some of these items, Your Honor, such as one of these items, the brake lines, as you pointed out, is probably not part of the.
Well, that's what I want you to go through, sir.
Okay.
Do you understand? I want you to take a marker, a pen, and circle, because I don't know a whole lot about
Okay.
airplanes, but I know a little bit about airplanes. I know what's routine maintenance and what has to be taken care of because a plane either falls on its nose or falls on its tail, both of which I've experienced.
Well, this is a small invoice. This is not your. This is a.
Mr. Williams, don't ask him. I didn't ask you to have a conference with him.
Okay.
I asked you to look at that. You're the management company. I want you to strike those items that are not related to this accident and go through them very carefully because.
Can I make a
No.
comment? Okay.
Nope.
To you directly.
Nope.
Okay.
Can I ask you something?
Can you ask me something?
Yeah. Well, he should tell you those cones are made of plastic.
I don't care. They're heavy cones. You hit the cone, and the plane flew. Hitting of the cone caused damage to that plane. I mean, you're not talking about flying a 747. You're talking about a little this is a single prop plane.
Right.
Yeah. Me, they like those planes you used to put together with rubber bands. I wouldn't put my behind in one of those planes for all the money in the world.
The only items I can see, Your Honor, are 2 items that may not be related to the accident, items 7 and 8.
Okay. May I have that back, please, sir? And you are familiar with planes, sir, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what you're saying is item
The circled item.
7 and 8.
Correct.
So we have
There's a couple of invoices.
we have right and left main gear, which is 143 plus 270 plus 66. What about item 9? Pitch, trim, jab, nut, loose. What is that?
Probably what they do during the inspection and the tear down, they go through the aircraft itself, make sure it's airworthy. So they probably caught another item or 2. You can probably put that on item that's wasn't part of the accident.
The big ticket items are adding up all of these items, Mr. Meyer, that probably have no relation to the accident which you caused,
Correct.
still bring the total amount to more than this court's jurisdictional limit. Can you tell me, sir, why your insurance, Mr. Williams, let's go back to you. You manage this plane. Can you tell me why Mr. Lee's insurance didn't cover all the damage to the plane?
A lot of the prospective renters or instructors that everybody uses, or we used in this case, carry their own insurance for this type of incident. Their insurance covers basically downtime, loss of operation, or in this case...
You mean Mr. Meyer?
Yes.
They have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed.
If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you.
Albert Lee is accusing pilot instructor Ed Meyer of hitting a cone and damaging his plane. Ed says Albert was already paid by his insurance company.
Okay. Mr. Williams, you were the one who recommended
That's
Mr.
correct,
Meyer.
we did.
Don't you do a check to find out if they have their own insurance before you recommend someone?
He had insurance, but it was lapsed. It
Well,
lapsed.
that he didn't have insurance. I get that all the time. If you have insurance that's lapsed, then you have no insurance.
Yeah. As a flight school, our instructors are required to carry the insurance.
Okay, but that
And then
didn't
we-
happen here.
That's correct.
So you're lucky that he's not suing you because you managed the plane for him. And you recommended him, Mr. Williams, you know. When you have a management company that manages your plane, they're supposed to make certain that if you have a certain kind of plane, that you have pilots certified to fly those kinds of planes. And if they give me a list of pilots and those pilots aren't certified to fly the kind of plane that I might have, then it's the fault of the management company.
In this case here, the plaintiff and the defendant were working together as far as their payment and the fees they were going to charge.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. They may have been working head to head. I mean, it was business you and Mr. Lee.
I do commercial real estate. I sell shopping centers and office buildings.
Okay. That's not his business. That's why he hires you. And if he hires you, he asks you for recommendations as to where to get the plane repaired for an instructor. Now, the fact that he may pay him independently, he's relied on you for information. So I suggest, Mr. Williams, that you tighten up your ship a little bit. Mr. Meyer, you're responsible to the plaintiff for the damage that you caused his plane. Why did you let your insurance lapse?
It had lapsed. I just didn't even realize the fact that it had lapsed. I just realized the fact that when this came about, that's what happened.
Well, when was the last time you paid premiums?
Probably about a year before that.
Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Meyer? You owe him $10,000. You caused the damage. You have to fix it. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I understand her point, the fact that what she saw.
I thought she's very fair.
These cones are made out of plastic.
It's hard to believe. It sounds like a gunshot when he hit the cone and triggered several warnings. And for him to say he had no idea, it's a little bit hard to believe.
They don't have much weight to them.
With the loud bang after you hit it, it's quite obvious that you should have stopped and shut down and inspect the damage.
There normally is never a cone at the 12 o'clock position. They're at the left side and the right side.
They place cones all the way around the aircraft, and it's part of your responsibility as a pilot in command to do a walk around pre-flight, make sure there's no object in front of your aircraft.
When I taxied out halfway down, that's when I recognized there was an ICAS message that came on.
I finally got it back, and no more student pilots, so won't let any CFIs fly for a while.
You know what I thought about in this case, Sarah? That lay people have to look at something, lay people, and while I'm a judge and have certain expertise, I have no plane or a train or a boat.
But we have common sense.
But we have common sense. And your brakes are not part of an engine. Yeah. You know, you have an engine job, and then you have a brake job, and you have a...
I saw where you were going.
different kind. And, you know, if you have an accident that impacts on the right driver's door, if you put in a new wheel casing in the left rear door, well, that has nothing to do with an accident.
Probably just an oversight. He did state that those two items were not part of You
He
know,
did.
He did at the end, but
did.
it just feels a little uneasy when they try and slip those things in there that just common sense doesn't ring true, that it comes from the
Yeah, you know, front, back, you know, the head of a horse, the tail of a horse, it doesn't fit in. And there's really no difference between not having insurance when you're driving a car and not having insurance as a flight instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty serious.
I would think there would be a more rigorous check on that before you get behind an aircraft, the
Well,
wheel of an aircraft.
Absolutely. You would think that there would be.
Yeah.
There's a flaw in the system someplace. Okay, I'm glad nobody was hurt.
Yeah.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv. And Donald back for an illegal eviction, security deposit, and an assault.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2085, Schumann versus Back.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Schumann,
Yes, Your Honor.
I assume this is your wife?
My girlfriend
Girlfriend.
and my son, Blake.
And your girlfriend is here just for moral support? She wasn't living with you in the house?
She wasn't living with me, no, but she was
Sit down.
I was a witness.
Sit.
a part of it.
Sit down.
Big part of it.
She was not living at the house?
No.
Good. Just you and your son?
Yes.
And you were tenants of Mr. and Mrs. Back for how long?
I think it was 6 years.
Starting when?
When did I sign the lease?
August 2016.
Don't help him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, 8/1/16.
And which unit do you rent? Because they also live in the house.
Yeah, it's 3 floors. I have the middle, and the top is just a little loft. Comes with a little loft.
And did you move in there with your son?
No, in the beginning, no. He wasn't with me.
Was it just you?
It was just me.
And when did he move in?
Probably 2 years later.
2018.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 15.
Now, in 2016, everything going well with your landlord?
Yeah.
Same landlord.
Yes.
What about 2017?
Everything's good.
Everything's going fine. 18 must have been going fine because you brought your son in to live with you.
We did have a few incidences that I had to call the police then.
Okay, so in 2018, you had to call the police.
Yes.
When in 2018?
First time Mrs. Back came, and she had a problem with Blake. She said he walked too hard upstairs.
Okay. Now, before Blake came with you, with whom was he living?
With his mother.
How long was he living with his mother?
Since he,
Since he was born?
Yeah, since birth.
And did you visit with him before he came to live with you?
Yeah, I had him every other weekend and Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So something must have happened in 2018 because he's 15 years old, he's in high school. You want to tell me the reason? Angela, I want you to bear in mind, this is my business.
Yeah.
You want to tell me?
Not why. She wanted to move to Florida, and she said I could have Blake.
Interesting. Okay, so the first time you started to have trouble was when your son came and Mrs. Back said that he was walking too loud, making too much noise upstairs.
Yeah.
And how did she communicate that with you?
Well, Mr. Back was really the one who had the problem at night. Because Blake would go from his bedroom to the bathroom, and he walked too loud. That was it.
So what did you do?
Well, that was that.
I want to know why you called the police.
Well, why he called the police was because finally, this was the following year when she...
Just a second. So that was it. In 2018, they told you that your son was walking too heavy.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, going from his room to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Okay, but that didn't require a call to the police. So I'm waiting.
Well,
this is not a well. You call the police.
Confront
I want to
me.
tell you something. I've been a tenant for most of my life. I've never called the police on the landlord. So this is not an answer that starts with well. When was the first time you called the police regarding Mr. and Mrs. Back, and for what reason?
She illegally entered my apartment. She used her key to come into my house.
Okay, don't speak. I told you not to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry.
When did she use a key to come into your apartment?
What time of the day?
No,
It was during
month?
the day, and
Month?
I don't remember. I mean, I have the police report.
Oh, I'd like to see it. Well, that will tell me.
The door was open, Your Honor. Sorry.
What part don't you understand? You want me to just grant his application and say goodbye to you?
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I know I had it. No, I have it, but I...
You have it, but you don't have it.
Well, it...
Okay, so that was sometime, according to you, in 2018 slash...
The officer
It's
came...
not a well.
Yep, the officer
So
came.
she came in and you found out that she'd been in your apartment. How did you...
Yeah, I was upstairs. I was in the apartment and she came in.
Oh, she used her key
Yeah,
and came in and you were there.
yes.
Tell me about that incident. So she came in...
She confronted Blake, then I went upstairs.
Just a second. She confronted Blake and you went upstairs. Upstairs from where?
From downstairs. We were coming home. She came running down the block, saw that we were home, and started telling Blake that he walks too loud. You're walking too loud. You're walking too loud.
Just a second. She's in the street.
She was coming. She saw us and she's coming
You
back.
said you were outside. You were outside. First you tell me, if I'm not mistaken, Whitney, he said he was in the apartment when she came in. Yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. First you told me you were in the apartment. That's not accurate. This happened outside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it happened outside and she was yelling at your son that he was walking too loud.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yeah, yes.
Yes.
Okay. And now she's outside coming from the beach. She's telling him, you're coming inside, keep going.
Then we went inside. I said, okay.
Just a second.
I said, okay, I'll tell him to walk a little softer, levitate a little bit. And we went inside and I got onto the phone talking to somebody. I guess she heard me talking and she opened her key and came up the stairs and started yelling. I wasn't yelling at Blake. I wasn't doing this to Blake. I wasn't doing that to Blake.
All right, next. 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 I'll tell you what this case is about so that everybody understands what this case is about. You're claiming that they illegally evicted you. That's one thing. You claim that they have your security deposit. And what else do you want? You say that there was a simple assault because when yelling at you, one of them spit on you.
It was a lot more than yelling.
I don't care what's yelling. Nobody hit you. That's either a yes or a no.
No.
You panicked.
Yes.
Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord.
No, I didn't. I thought someone was trying to break in.
Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is.
Daniel Schumann claims his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, owe for an illegal eviction, security deposit, and an assault. Diana and Donald are countersuing for apartment damage.
Now, illegal eviction, return of security deposit. And you lived there until when?
Until June of this year.
Now, in June, something happened, and that's where your girlfriend has some information, because it was June
3rd.
You are Gina.
Yes.
Perfect. You and Gina were in bed asleep. Does Gina have her own car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
Yes.
So that's two cars.
Yes.
Where are you supposed to park?
Well, we don't have a driveway, so you can park on the street if you want.
Okay, so you weren't parked anywhere near the house?
No, across the street.
Correct?
Yes.
So his cars weren't blocking yours?
Yes, they were.
Where was your car parked?
My car was parked out front behind his disabled spot that he has for himself, and only him.
Just a second.
Behind him.
There's a disabled parking spot on a public street?
Yes, but it's only his, for his number only. So no one else can park there, or they get ticketed and towed.
Even if you're disabled?
Shh.
Yeah, even if you're disabled, you're not allowed.
Did you get a spot assigned to you, sir, assigned to your car because of a disability?
Yes.
What's the nature of the disability?
I had 2 cracked vertebrae in my neck. I dislocated my left shoulder. I have herniated and ruptured discs in my lower back and nerve damage down my left leg.
So you have a place to park?
Yes.
Were you or your girlfriend Gina in any way blocking Mr. and Mrs. Back's car?
No.
Okay. Did you see where they were parked?
Yeah, she was parked on the street in front of the house.
Their car was parked in the street.
My husband came in and showed me a ticket that was on my car, and I couldn't understand because there's no meters or anything. And when I went to look at the ticket, it took me a little time. I checked it. It was for unregistered vehicle. First time in my life I've ever done something like that. I went online right away because I said, I know I did this in April in my mind because I do everything online. Obviously, I never sent it through, and I didn't realize it. Cops in the town have a scanner. They scanned my card. They gave me a ticket. I'm responsible for that. I understand that. But when I spoke to the cop, he said...
No, don't tell me what the cop said.
Well, I can get a ticket every 12 hours. So I panicked. I said, okay, I'm going to try.
Now I understand what's happened.
But I needed to get my car
Just a
off the
second.
road.
So now I understand what happened. She got a ticket parking on the street. And the ticket for parking on the street was for having an unregistered vehicle.
Yes.
Your car was not parked in your designated handicapped spot. Instead, you and Gina were parked in the street.
Yes.
So she came to you to ask you to take your car and put it in your handicapped spot so that she could park in the driveway.
No.
Well,
we just asked for, just needed one of them. Can you see
Just a
look
second.
at this picture?
Just a second.
And then you'll understand what I mean.
You asked one of them to move their car?
I tried to just get in touch with both of them at this point, just get their attention.
You said, Miss Back, no to me very fast. I want you to listen to what I
didn't ask them
said.
to go in. There's six parking spots on this lot. So I didn't need him to go in his spot, is what I'm trying to say.
It doesn't
I
matter.
just needed him
You need to
for me
move?
get through. He could have stayed there the whole night if he wanted to.
Okay. And what time was this?
My husband walked in about 20 to 9. I started to look it up, thinking that something was wrong. By the time I figured that out, then I knocked on the door.
Just a second.
No
Give me a
answer.
time that you went to his door to knock at the door.
I started knocking on the door about 9 o'clock, a little bit after, maybe 9 o'clock. And then I proceeded to text, and I proceeded to call.
Okay. Now, prior to that, Mr. Schumann, prior to that date, at about 9 o'clock, when was the time immediately? What don't you understand?
When I called the police, it was probably about 9:45.
No, prior to that night, when she wanted you to move your car, when was the time immediately preceding that you called the police about any conduct of Mr. and Mrs. Back?
Yeah, I don't remember the date.
Give me the month and year.
Oh, wow. It was...
So far, we have
maybe
2018.
Maybe 2020.
So that was the second time that you've called the police?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You keep saying that. Okay. 2020. What was that about?
What that was about was she was downstairs with her friends. They were smoking so much marijuana that we couldn't breathe on the second and third floor. And Mrs. Zanino called her and said, you guys got to knock it off. You got to stop. We can't breathe up here. Had to open the windows, had to turn on fans, and I had Blake there.
May I see the police report?
That one I don't have. They wouldn't give it to me. They said...
Just a second. That they said you don't have that police report, but that you called because of smoking marijuana.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the time immediately preceding the call at 9:45 in June of 2022.
Yes.
There were no calls in between.
No.
Is that correct?
One after, but not before.
One after?
2 days later.
2 days after
the altercation. Yeah.
After the altercation. Okay. So now, according to you, you and Gina are in bed, sound asleep at 9 o'clock. Yeah. Where is your son?
He's downstairs on the second floor. That's where his bedroom is.
Okay. But downstairs, when you want to get in, do you get in from the second floor or the third?
Come in the house, you got to come in from the first floor. And then...
Walk up a flight of stairs.
Yeah.
So you have to pass where your son is. Your son is on the second floor.
Oh, yeah. If I'm going up to the loft, the bedroom door is right there. Yeah.
Okay. What's your son's first name?
Blake.
Blake, stand. 15-year-olds don't go to sleep at 9 o'clock at night. June 3rd, 2022. Where were you?
I was in the bathroom.
You were in the bathroom?
Yes.
All night?
No, not all night.
Well, when were you in the bathroom?
Around 9:30.
When did you hear banging on the door?
It was around that time.
It was around 9:30?
Yes.
What did you do?
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, you heard banging at the door?
Yes.
Did somebody say something?
Well...
Not well. Look at me. All you have to do is remember this. Don't speak, Mr. Schumann. Don't speak to him.
No, he's nervous.
Don't speak to him. He won't have to be nervous if he tells the truth. So you see, you just have to cool it. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. There are people who call the police on you all the time. You're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I
mean,
wasn't ready for the change at the time.
Oh, you sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous.
Daniel Schumann has accused his former landlords, Diana and Donald Back, of wrongfully evicting him and keeping his security deposit.
You came here. You brought him. Just remember that. You came.
I know.
You brought him. What did you hear when you heard banging at the door?
I heard Don scream, Dan.
You heard Mr. Back.
Yes. Mr.
Scream what?
Dan. And
Dan.
yes.
And that's your father.
Yes.
How many times did you hear him scream Dan?
Only once.
Once. And are you out of the bathroom?
Well, I did.
That's not an well.
Sorry.
Are you out of the bathroom or still in the bathroom?
I'm still in the bathroom.
Okay, so you're still in the bathroom.
Yes.
Was the door open or closed?
Closed.
Closed. So behind a closed door in the bathroom, you heard Dan from the floor below.
Yes.
Dan. Now, what did you hear after that? Is not an answer. What did you hear after that? Because somebody was looking for your father and you knew it was the landlord.
Yeah.
You knew it was the landlord.
No, I didn't.
You just told me that.
I thought someone was trying to break in.
Your Honor, you have
You
to
mean,
understand.
just a second. Blake, let's get real, okay? Let's stop with the scripted scenario that your father is giving you. Because
it wasn't scripted.
don't speak. Because at 9 o'clock at night, if somebody is banging at the door and calling your father's name, then it doesn't sound like a break-in to me. If somebody's banging at my door and somebody is yelling out, Nana, Nana, I know they're not trying to break into my house.
It wasn't
Do you
banging at
understand?
the door.
Do you understand?
It was the whole house was shaking.
Okay.
The entire
okay,
house.
Mr. Schuman, I'm not speaking to you. Do you understand? You brought this ridiculous lawsuit. You brought this ridiculous lawsuit.
The truth has to be told. I can't tell.
Just
the
a
truth.
second.
Because they're lying.
Mr. Schuman,
No, you're lying.
You're lying.
Mr. Schuman, you brought this ridiculous lawsuit, except for one thing. I'm finished with you. Sit down.
Your Honor, I wasn't even the one who called the cops at first.
Just a second.
The neighbor across the street called first because.
Mr. Schuman, you have a police report?
Yeah.
Then I'd like to see where the neighbor across the street called the police.
Yeah, that says it in
Just
there.
a second. I'd like to see it.
He also called.
Shh.
Okay.
Yeah, when I called, they said someone else has already called.
Give this back. Give this back. They don't understand not to talk. All right. I'm about finished with you. You moved out?
Yes, I was illegally
Great.
evicted.
Great. It's a great thing that you moved out. It's a great thing that you moved out because you don't want to be with such bad landlords who yell and scream in the middle of the night, who smoke marijuana around your 15-year-old son who would never think of doing that, right?
Stress that's off me now.
Perfect. Then it's what we call a mitzvah that you moved out, okay? The only thing that I'm entertaining on either side is, on your side, the return of your security deposit. Do you understand?
Yes.
How much was your security deposit?
$1,750.
When you left, did you get any of your security deposit back?
No.
What date did you leave?
It was the last day of June.
So it was June 30th. And you paid June's rent?
Yes.
So now you're going to have to explain to me, Mr. and Mrs. Back, and I think I'm going to go to Mrs. Back, why you kept their security deposit.
Well, Your Honor, he signed a lease when he first moved in.
Just tell me why you kept their security
Because
deposit.
he was asked to give me 60 days notice, written 60 days notice.
Forget it. The people who call the police on you all the time, you're going to get down on the ground, kiss the ground, and say, thank God for they're not in my house anymore. Do you understand? Do you understand?
Kind of.
He's happy. What do you mean, kind of?
Well,
what do you
I
mean,
wasn't
kind
ready for the change at the time. That's why I always ask for 60 days notice.
Oh, you sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
You sound ridiculous. Do you understand why she sounds ridiculous? You had very, very bad experience with your tenants. Police were called. I don't know. I've lived in places all my life. Police were never called on me as a tenant. I never called police on a landlord. Out there in the near audience, I want to know how many of you ever called the police about your landlord. Raise your hand. I just want some idea. Raise your hand. Don't tell me the truth. Okay, good. Now, how many ever called the police on a tenant? Look at all this. How many times?
Twice.
Great. Landlord or tenant?
On a tenant.
You called about a tenant?
Yes.
About a disruptive tenant?
Yes.
So, with the exception of Kevin, who is a businessman, entrepreneur when he's not here, taking care of my business here, and he called the police twice because of a tenant. Nobody else has ever only about a 60-day notice. Now, if that's why you kept their security deposit, which is what you said to me,
right,
then he gets a security deposit back, $1,750. And that's the only reason you gave me.
It's $1,725. But
Just
I
a second.
didn't finish.
1725. You did finish. I said, what was the reason? I asked you twice.
Well,
what was the reason? And what was the reason?
I was letting him go from the 17th when he texted my husband to the 17th. The only thing I wanted in return is access. He said, no, see you in court. So I turned around and held him to his lease.
Very good. Not here. Not here. Okay. 1750. He gets a security deposit back. 1750 or 1725?
It's 1750.
Take a look. Let's get the number right.
The lease.
This is fascinating.
He signed his lease that says 1725.
Okay. You have information to the contrary, Mr. Schuman.
No, she's right. 1725.
1725. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done. Counterclaim is dismissed. We're finished. That's it.
Court is adjourned.
Judge Judy was right about I should be counting my blessings that they're gone.
It was over a silly parking spot.
I'm glad he's out, but I don't think he deserves his security.
I mean, I couldn't teach him how to levitate.
Yeah.
I tried, much as I tried, we couldn't get it.
I'll never understand why acrimonious relationships between landlords and tenants would wish to continue on for another 30 days, another 60 days, cut your losses and get out of there. And that's what happened. And the defendant's answer that, well, he was supposed to give me 60 days notice. Why would you want him there for another 60 days?
It's called the police on you, as far as we know, at least 3 times.
Yes.
Whatever. It was just a bad scene. And for some reason, he didn't park at his assigned spot because of his handicap. He parked, whatever.
I think everyone should just cut their losses and go
move
home.
on and be happy. Life is so short.
Yes, agreed.
Be happy.
Her ex-boyfriend, Cody Lipe, for unpaid loans.
Ms. Weiss, the defendant was a boyfriend of yours for a period of time.
Correct.
And you allege a couple of loans. One from a year and a half ago, the balance of a $200 loan, he paid you back $100.
Yes.
Quite frankly, I'm not interested in what happened a year and a half ago. What you say is, I need time to catch up.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing is you saying to her, I can make payments to you. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she forgave the loan. Is that right?
Cody Lipe is refusing to pay back loans she gave him during their relationship.
Okay, in March of this year, you allege that you gave him money. He was still your boyfriend in March of this year, is that right?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
And in March of this year, he had gotten a car. What kind of car did you get?
It was a Buick Regal.
What year? Needed fixing.
Yes.
And you didn't have money for parts.
I did for the first round of parts.
But you didn't for the second?
After the first ones failed, I did not.
And how much did you need for parts?
That I don't remember.
Who bought them?
Miss Weiss did.
Did you buy them on a credit card?
I believe so, yes.
And you have no idea what you paid for those parts?
I don't remember.
But that would be in March of 2022.
It would have been in April.
Did you pay for the parts by credit card?
Yes, I paid between Cash App transactions that were transferred to Mr. Lipe through Cash App, which I have present here.
I'd like to see proof of them. What do they total?
They total.
Tell me about the discussion that you had with her when she paid for these parts.
There was a discussion of how I was going to pay her back.
And what did you tell her?
I did agree at that time.
And then what happened?
There were then later discussions as we were still in a relationship and I was in financial troubles that she told me not to worry about it.
This $920 was a loan in April of 2022. That's what when that happened?
Shortly after the car got back together, which would have been in May. I was financially struggling.
Well, you weren't living together at the time?
No, she would periodically come over and
but you weren't living together at the time. So how would she find out that you were in financial trouble?
I mean, we were at that state in our relationship where she knew basically my financials all the time.
When did the two of you break up?
I believe that was in June.
So shortly after you say she forgave the loan.
That is correct.
Did you ever forgive this $920 loan?
No, I did not. Brennan Black was there the day that I had confronted Cody at a car meet.
You broke up in June.
Correct.
He says that you had a conversation before that, sometime in May, where you knew he was in financial difficulty. Did you ever have that conversation with him?
No, that is incorrect. I do have statements here to prove it as well.
I'd like to see them. says, so that puts you at $670, okay? That's what you wrote.
Correct. He had been giving me money periodically throughout the beginning of the car parts.
Okay, but it says, so that puts you at $670, okay?
Yes, there's more transactions on the Cash Apps as well.
Oh, after that?
Yes, correct. Sorry.
No, sir. What you say is I need time to catch up. There's no forgiving here unless you have some.
It was a verbal conversation.
Well, what's in writing?
Right.
What's in writing is you saying to her, I need some time to catch up. I can make payments to you. All of that is in writing. But the thing that you don't have in writing is where she gave the loan. Is that right? Yeah. 900.
It is what it is.
I think it was fair. Mr. Lake did owe me money, and he got what he deserved.
Yes, she lent me the money, but at the same time, she was helping me out in a relationship, and she knew I was struggling.
He said he was going to pay me back and never followed through even after that.
There were discussions about her telling me not to worry about it.
Not to trust so much.
I'm never going to do it again.
Oh, that's going to be a contract.
All of her evidence.
Yep.
All.
Just the way we like it.
All lined up. It's unfortunate when a loan becomes a gift and a gift then becomes a loan when the romance is over. These writings are always so helpful, and these text messages really are making my life much easier.
And one thing that I mention a lot is with Cash App or Venmo, always state if you're paying someone money, don't just send the money, put in the subject line. They have a subject line on those for a reason, for this car part, for this tow, for this XYZ the other. So I always, when using Venmo or Cash App or something like that, in an online transfer system, I'll send the money, and then in the transaction, or other things, I list housekeeping for, and I put the date and the hours. So I at least have a record of who I'm paying electronically.
If you buy food,
or if I give someone money for dinner for half my meal, I say for my dinner on XYZ date.
And then you can get a printout.
Organized. Exactly.
And then you can, like a bank account?
Yep.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
It just keeps it organized. So I love it when litigants come in ready to go.
Well, that's good advice for people who use Venmo, to use the subject.
Former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, for a security deposit, invasion of privacy, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case number 2047, Sosikian versus Hamad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a house.
Yes.
Where?
In Sun Valley.
When did you purchase the house?
I purchased it 4 years ago.
How much did you pay for it?
We purchased it for $585, I believe.
And you sold that house to Mr. Ahmed, what month and year?
We sold it in, I believe it was January.
Of 2022?
Yes.
And you sold it for how much?
$574,500.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Palmdale.
Did you buy something else?
Yes.
And Mr. Ahmed, you took a mortgage out?
Yes.
How much is your mortgage?
I bought the house February 15, 2022, not January, and I pay for it $710,000.
So you paid $710,000?
Yes.
Not $574,000?
No.
Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I might not be remembering the exact amount.
Well, that's a big, not exactly. $574,000 to $710,000 is a big difference.
Yeah, it was $710,000.
In one case you lost money. In one case, you made money.
It was $710,000. I apologize.
Okay, so $710,000.
Yes.
Yes, honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How much is your mortgage payment each month?
$5,100.
Okay, and when you sold Mr. Ahmed the house, you didn't have a place to go, according to your complaint, and you asked for a rent back.
I was in escrow.
But you didn't have a place to go. Whether you were in escrow or in an igloo in Eskimo, it doesn't mean anything. You didn't have a place to go.
Correct.
So you asked them if you could stay in the house and rent it from them. How many people are there in your family?
My family, it's 3 kids.
So who was living in the house? You,
It was me, my husband, and I have my 2 sons that are with me. My daughter doesn't live with me.
So you asked if you could rent the house back for a few months. He was nice. He said yes. How much rent did he ask for?
He asked for $4,000.
He asked for $4,000?
Yes, for 3 bedrooms, he asked for $4,000.
Your Honor, no.
Just a second. He asked for $4,000 even though his mortgage was $5,100?
$4,000. I paid a whole total together with everything with security deposit, and I paid $12,000.
No. That's not what I'm asking you with security deposit. That's what we're here for your security deposit.
Yeah.
I'm asking you how, considering his mortgage was $5,100 and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall, so that makes him a very nice person, to rent it back to you so that he's at a loss every month of $1,100. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Great. And what you're doing here is you want your deposit back.
Yes, that's correct.
$4,000. And Mr. Ahmed says that not only did he have to spend $4,000 to fix the damage you and your family caused to the house while you were living there for those few months, but he had to spend an additional $6,000. That's what he says. He had to spend an additional $6,000 because the place was destroyed because you had a disagreement with him over the date that you were going to be receiving your deposit back. That's his claim. So there were a couple of things that were sort of questionable to me.
I have not damaged, though. I have pictures of the house when I left. There was no damage.
That's fine. You're going to show them to me. Okay. The one thing that I found strange, so now I have the facts straight. So you moved into the house in February?
In the house?
Yes.
Yes.
So you rented in February and March?
Yes.
2 months?
We moved out April 6th.
Okay. Now, you told him you were moving out, and he came to the house to do an inspection. And that was before your move-out date. On what date did you meet together for him to go through the house? And let me refresh your recollection. You came to the house. He walked around with you. And at that time, he said these few things need repair. And there was not extensive damage anywhere. And when he got to the house, he rang the bell and he opened the door and you looked through the house.
Yes.
On what date was that? Do you remember?
The day that I gave him my keys to the door.
No. That's not the date you moved out. That's the date that he came there to do a walkthrough with you, your husband, and or children. I don't know who was there. And
Your Honor, he made a lot of walkthroughs.
No, I'm asking the last one that he made.
The last one?
Yes.
The last one he did, I don't remember the exact date.
They had been living there February, all of February, and most of March.
March.
Was the house in pretty good shape on March 23rd? Was it in the same shape on March 23rd when you saw it on April 6th?
Yes, because when I saw the damages of my house, I request her, what is this? I show her.
No, just a second. What did you show her?
About the floor damage, wall damage, and there is...
Oh, well, show me on the pictures that you took on March 23rd.
Okay.
He probably damaged it himself from his construction that he did.
Just a second.
He did construction while I was living there. For the whole 2 months I was there, he did construction.
Okay.
You know what I find problematic in both your complaint and answer?
I would like to pass my evidence.
Just a second. Okay. I'm going to tell you what I find difficult in both your complaint and his answer. That when you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. When you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. Now, he bought the house. He's paid you for the house. You've got $710,000. On the day the house closed, there is no question in my mind that there was a doorbell. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have no right to take anything from that house once it's sold. You're a renter.
Your Honor, I believe I do, because on the document it says the only thing that I'm supposed to leave for him is the washer and dryer and stove.
Madam, that's something. Have you never bought property before, or are you just trying to be obtuse? I would never think. I bought and sold dozens of homes. Never in one contract. In all, and I'm a lawyer, my husband's a lawyer, grandchildren are lawyers, my children are lawyers. Not in one contract does it ever talk about a doorbell. It is assumed that you leave the doorbell, that you leave the toilets, that...
No, that was not a doorbell, it was a Ring camera.
I don't care if it was a Ring camera, I don't care if it was an MGM camera or a universal picture camera. It's not yours. It's part of the property. You have no right to take it. Period. Put your hand down. Sometimes when it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to be quiet. Do you understand? You have no right to take certain things. Once the house is sold, nothing there belongs to you. Nothing. After the house was sold, for the 2 months that you lived there, are you telling me you lived without a doorbell? Are you telling me that you lived without a doorbell? No, you lived with a doorbell.
It's a Ring. Your Honor, it's a Ring camera.
I don't care what it is.
It was not the doorbell. It's not the doorbell. It's a Ring camera. You can take it off and take it to your next property. That's something that I bought.
You bought a lot of things in that house, I'm sure. Did you buy wallpaper? Did you buy flooring? Did you buy carpeting? You can't take it. It doesn't belong to you. It travels with the property. When you say it's a Ring camera, when you ring the doorbell, does that activate the Ring camera?
Yes, it does.
And when you took out the whole Ring camera, did you put in a doorbell?
The doorbell was already there. I never touched the doorbell. That's why I took the camera, the Ring camera, because that belongs to me. I bought that. I didn't touch the doorbell. That's part of the house. That's part of the property. It's in the wall.
Can I see a picture of what she took?
My doorbell is not here. Here is the point.
I did not touch the doorbell. Again, he did a lot of remodeling. He probably did all the damages himself. He's trying to blame it on me.
No, that's
You're not allowed to take it. Period.
I have a lot of evidence.
You're not allowed to take it now. So I'm starting with your case. You want your deposit back.
Yes.
This gets deducted from your deposit. Did you replace this?
Not yet.
Did you get an estimate for its replacement?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And not only doorbell, Your Honor. She took the curtain rods and also all the light bulbs.
Just a second.
Okay. Give me some time.
I don't have time.
Can I please explain what really happened and what I went through with this guy from day one?
No.
He let me
Right here.
No.
Because I want to prove my case because he's wrong and he's a crook.
No. Madam, you rented the house.
Yes.
For $4,000 a month.
Yes.
A three-bedroom house.
I paid him
amount. And you paid him the amount. And you stayed there. If there was something wrong with the house, or if you didn't like the fact that he was doing construction there, or he was coming in and out of the house, even though he was renting it to you for $1,100.
Let me just tell you, he kept texting me over and over, bringing renters to show my side of the place to live. While we were living there, he harassed me every day by text messages and phone calls. Can I show the house? Every single day.
Who cares? I don't care.
But that caused a lot of tension to my family.
I don't care. Move.
She intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't.
Shh. I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy.
Mary Totsekian claims her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, refused to return her security deposit and harassed her. Kazi is countersuing for vandalism.
Now, if you didn't like to live in a place where you were being constantly harassed, you and your husband now have a $110,000 profit from selling your house.
I gave him a $10,000 discount on that property. And he
did you understand what I just said to you? Move. Say, listen, it's not working out. You're bringing too many people in and out of the house. It's not working for me. Wait just a second. We'd like to move out before. Did you ever say that to him? The answer is no.
Because I had a lease with him.
Did you ever?
Just
a second.
Yes.
Did you ever say that to him? I would like to give you your property back earlier. We don't need it for 2 months because I don't want to be harassed. We're going to move out into a hotel until our house is ready. But you stayed there.
No, I told them that we can't keep having people come and knock on our door.
Okay.
I made it very
Madam, you're not getting compensated for that. You're a big girl. You made a lot of money on this house. You asked for a deal for him to rent it back to you. He said fine. He's going to tell me that he wanted to have his mortgage covered, and you were not prepared to do that. And you were not prepared to do that.
Your Honor, let me just tell you, the living situation for that 2 months that I was there was hell with him. He caused me all kinds of anxiety. The last day when I was supposed to give him the keys so I can leave, he opened the door and started arguing with me in front of my 11-year-old kid. He made him cry. He caused a lot of trauma to our family.
Your Honor, her son was not there.
He's a monster. He doesn't care about anything else. And then he did remodeling. Now he's trying to get the money out of me to pay for it because he's broke. That's
okay. First of all, this comes off the deposit, and then I want to see the estimate.
All I want is my $4,000 security deposit.
On March 23rd of this year, when he came to do an initial walkthrough with you before you were leaving, did you discuss deposit? The answer is yes. Just a second.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And at that time, did he say to you, this needs fixed, this needs fixed? Did he say anything to you? Nothing. Did he tell you that he had, by law, 21 days to return your deposit?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say to him?
I said, that's fine, I will wait the 20 days, but he
No, just a second.
Yes.
You said it was fine, I'll wait the 20 days.
Yeah, to get my deposit, yes.
Okay, and then what happened?
I have every text that we sent to each other.
I'm not reading every text that you sent to each other. I'm asking you, after March 23rd, go to your March 23rd texts.
I do have here.
He basically said he's
not basically. I said go to your March 23rd and thereafter
I highlight,
text.
Your Honor, for you.
After March 23rd.
Yes.
Go to your, do you have text messages? That's
Yes,
what you
it's
said.
all
You're
here.
looking at me.
Okay. I have a March 23 here. He led me on in the text messages saying that you help me pay my mortgage, I will help and give you a security
I'm
deposit
asking
back.
you to show me
It's
the
right
text messages after March 23rd.
This is the March 23rd.
And thereafter, you pay deposit back when there isn't any damage to the house. You don't use my deposit for anything else. You hold it for damages. Here is the notice. I would like you to meet with you and your husband. Please let me know when you are available. Please don't threaten me with my deposit.
I wasn't.
He was threatening me.
I wasn't.
Just said, please don't threaten me. You mean threaten me with my deposit. Can you show me where on the contract it says the washer and dryer stays?
That I found, it stays, and we did leave it there.
She tried to take with her that too.
Again, Your Honor, I'm just here for my deposit because I did my responsibilities and paid the rent. I was a good tenant. I kept the house beautifully clean and everything. I deserve my deposit back. That's why I'm here. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to see him ever again. I just want my deposit.
I know what you want.
That's it.
That's why we're
just to that property.
Okay.
He's lying. If
Can you
think I
show me
damaged
where the
anything.
contract says the washer and dryer stays, because I don't see it? I made it very clear to everyone that I paid for it, that it's going with me.
That was before I looked at the document.
Just a second.
Yes.
So that's before you looked at the document?
Yes.
When did you look at the document?
I looked at it. It was at home when I noticed it.
Did you respond to him after the 23rd and say to him, I realize that the washer and dryer
No,
stays?
because he's been threatening me constantly. Why am I going to respond to him? He's been a monster.
Can you please show me photographs of what the house looked like?
He's been a complete monster,
Show me
Your
what,
Honor.
just a second. Show me what the house looked like on April 6th.
This is the pictures I have. This is what it looks like. Perfect
Just
little house.
Don't speak. Just show me.
I'm just trying to say that I'm not here for anything empty. I'm here for my deposit.
No, that's not what you're here for, just your deposit, madam. That's not what you filed a claim for. An invasion of privacy and pain and suffering. There's a whole bunch of things that you're suing for. Okay. I see these pictures.
The house is in
and just a second.
great shape.
Just a second. And is this your little dog?
Yes, it is. The house is in great shape. He has no complaints.
He's going to show me pictures. I'm going to look at them.
I deserve my deposit back. That's all I know. He wasted my time. He lied to me.
Can I see your photographs of what the house looks like?
Your Honor, this is the picture when I bought the property with good condition.
Okay.
And this is the picture for she intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't do that.
I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy. Anybody who takes out a doorbell ring or whatever it is and leaves holes and mollies in the wall, which is exactly what you did, just like the washer and dryer. Okay.
Your Honor, this is the previous.
Don't speak. Okay. Now I'd like to see the photographs that you took April 6th or thereafter. When did you take those photographs? On what day?
I start March 23rd to April 6th.
I'd like to see the photographs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
No, some of this damage, sir, that were in the door hinges, that's not damage that they did. That's not damage that I can ascribe to them. There are some holes in the walls. I know you're showing me this. That you have to deal with.
I sold
it. Was paying you. That's a number, not a story.
Mary Totzikian accuses her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, of keeping her security deposit and harassing her. Kazi claims Mary vandalized his house before she left.
Okay, I don't know what this is that you're showing me in this picture.
Because there is a water leak from there. So the water goes in the cabinet inside.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume that you have some sort of insurance because they didn't do this damage.
Okay.
They didn't do this damage when they were there. I would like, sir, to see some of the pictures before and after. This is moldy and it's dirty. So they didn't clean the bathtub. Where are you living now, sir?
With my mom.
And who's living in the house?
I rented out.
What's the name of the people that you rented the house to?
It's Walter.
When did you rent it? On what date?
I don't remember exact date.
Well, you'll remember. You remember everything else. You remember April 6th. You remember March 23rd. Now remember what day they came.
Okay. June.
So actually the house was, just a second. So actually the house was unrented for about a month and a half.
Right. because I...
Shh, not a because. Now, how much did you rent the house for to Walter?
$4,000.
Could you explain to me why you're renting it to somebody for less than what you pay in your mortgage?
Sure. So here is the American dream, because I came here 2013 and I started live with my mom. So me and my wife working so hard to buy the house. We save every penny day by day, and we saw a lot of house last couple years.
I'm not listening. Don't tell me your life story. I want to know why you're renting the house for less than your mortgage payment.
Because no, the people is very nice, and they said they're going to increase the rent January. They give me $5,000. That's why.
Do you have a lease with them?
I do.
You have a lease with them, and
Yes.
does the lease indicate that the rent is being raised in January?
Yes.
What?
That whole thing that he said that his place was now rented for him.
Living with you?
They were living in that back house. That house is split with the wall, so there's empty rooms in the back. So he was literally renting it out, boom, boom, like right away.
Just a second.
While I was there.
Is what you're telling me that there are two sources of income from that house?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
Listen to me carefully.
Sure.
How many tenants do you have in that house?
3.
Shh.
Oh.
Look at me.
Sure.
How many tenants? You have Walter,
Yes.
and he pays you $4,000.
Yes.
You have another tenant.
Yes.
Okay, and the other tenant is in the back.
Yes.
And what does the other tenant pay you?
Okay, the one...
No, that's a figure.
Oh,
what does
okay.
the other tenant pay you? Don't look up there. You know exactly how much?
$3,000.
$3,000. So you cover your mortgage, and you make a little money.
Yes.
Now, while she was living there, pay attention.
Yes.
While she was living there, were you renting the back?
Yes.
Yes. And how much were you getting?
Okay.
That's a number. Okay. Before you answer the question, think. How much were you getting from the people in the back?
Same.
Same what?
Because that's not my...
But just a second. What do you mean the same? The same as what?
The people used to live there long time with her. That's her tenant, not mine. She just transferred to me.
I see. So you had a tenant living in the back.
Yes.
You had a tenant living
Yes,
in the
Your
back.
Honor.
And what was the rent that you were charging your tenant?
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. Yes,
Yep.
I did. And one of the tenants, I'll tell you right now,
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you.
That's what I'm saying.
Just give me that's a number, not a story.
1,000, and I would say 2,000 altogether.
Sounds to me as if everybody did very well. You have to pay for the doorbell. Now I want a receipt for the doorbell. The rest of the pictures are nonsense. And you had no loss of income. Just a second.
Yes,
I want the estimate for the doorbell. That's what I want. That's going to be deducted from the... Put your hand down. Otherwise, you're gone. Do you understand? Doorbell.
$84.
Estimate. $84.
Yes, something like that.
Great. Do the math for me. I think it's $3,900, whatever. $4,000 less 84.
$39.16.
To the plaintiff that I think
mitigates
in your favor, other than the doorbell, which I actually find outrageous.
Right, Your Honor.
And you had no loss of income. So clearly what you did was purchase this house, and you make an income from this house every month.
After I pay my mortgage, and there is a service like expenses, and also there is a like utilities bill is so expensive now.
I don't care.
Insurance.
39-16. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaims dismissed. We are finished with this case.
Right.
Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
I deserve my security deposit back. I did very well with paying the rent, and I feel like this was fair.
I'm not happy about it because I'm the buyer and I bought the house. There is a lot of damages after she moved out.
He was pretty much texting and having renters come and knock on my door every day without even giving me a notice ahead of time.
I was always giving to her 2-3 days notice to go in the property.
It was not easy, but you know, we moved on to something better, so.
She's still living in the American dream.
You know, this case is sort of an example of you read a complaint and you read an answer, and you sort of have a predetermination of what the case might look like and how that shifts. Because when I originally saw these people, I said, you know, she took the doorbell and the ring thing with her. Why? And it was with the washer and dryer. She said, I'm taking it. It was in the contract that it stayed. But then when I got to know both of these people, Sarah, they were both a little bit of hustlers. Nobody told me up front that there was a back apartment that they rented. And I said, why was this guy being such a good guy?
Yeah. And he didn't say,
house?
well, actually, I'm not that great of a guy. I rent the backside and cover my expenses.
I rent the back for $3,000, and it all covers his expenses. They actually, both of them, deserved each other a little bit. He didn't deserve another $6,000 in addition to the $4,000 because I didn't see that much in damage. I mean, you looked at some of the pictures.
I saw some of the photos, and it looked like
holes, you know, from pictures on the wall.
Contract and attorney fees.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Case 2128, Hall versus Benedum.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hall, you and the defendant are neighbors,
Yes, ma'am.
and your houses are right next to each other.
Hers is on the corner, mine is
Right next to her.
Yes.
Got it. What your complaint is that I see where those two, the truck and the vehicle behind it.
The trailer, yes, ma'am.
The trailer. The property to the left of that is your house.
Yes, ma'am.
And the property to the right of that is the defendant's house.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, in writing, agreed to sell you that little piece of property that looks like it's been carved out of her property.
Yes, ma'am.
Because you had a narrow driveway, you wanted to park these two vehicles.
Yes, ma'am.
Based upon that agreement, you went ahead and did some work on that piece of property.
Yes, ma'am.
You put down gravel, you planted flowers, all to make it look as if that piece of property was part of your house.
Not so much to make it look like it's part of my house so I can get in it, because the agreement was that there was 3 pine trees there prior to her telling that I can buy the property.
No. The 3 trees that are there had nothing to do with this except that they were taken down. And were they taken down and the removal of the trees was paid for by you or by her?
By both of us.
By both. Okay. So you asked to have the trees removed, and you both paid to have the trees removed.
Okay.
Not only did you cut the trees down, but you took that property and made it look like yours. You say that there was an agreement in writing for her to sell you that piece of property. So I'd like to see that agreement.
Yes, ma'am.
There's no agreement in writing.
Don't say anything.
The very top line.
Just a second. Not a contract to sell land. I see what she says to you. I am agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs. Let's get this in motion ASAP. And then she doesn't hear from you, and that's the 18th of May. And then she writes you again a little bit later, and she says her offer will expire at the end of today's business day, 5/19. And on 5/19, at 10 o'clock at night, you write to her, hey, Stacy, I've started working on things this morning. I have already been to the city of Akron, and once they are done and I get a surveyor and so on, I will keep you updated if that's okay. Last, everything is time sensitive, and I'm working as fast as I can to get the approvals. Just now seeing your texts.
Right.
Okay. So that's what you're relying on as a contract to purchase property.
Well, the fact that she said that she would sell it to me, and I started all the motion like she said to do. I started all the motions, got the surveyor done, got the deeds done, I got everything done.
All right. That was 5/19/2021. So show me what you did based on this and what you spent based on your belief that she had agreed to sell you the property and you had an agreement for sale, which is like a contract for sale of property. Most people know that when you sell a piece of property, you get a survey, you put it in the contract, you have a contract when the property is going to be transferred. That property would have to be surveyed because clearly you're carving a piece of property out of her property. I want to see what you did and what you spent to sell you the property. By the way, I wouldn't sell him the property either. It makes your property look ridiculous.
It does. We never agreed to sell the property. Okay.
Did you write, I am agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs?
Yes, I never agreed to sell the property until I told him he was no longer allowed to park there. It was never discussed.
What is
Depending on the stipulation that my mortgage company requires, which is an appraisal, they had to approve the selling of the property.
All I'm interested in is this one line. The other ifs fall after that. It says, I'm agreeing to sell you the property you are currently parked on for $1,000 plus costs.
Yes.
Okay, so you did that.
Yes.
I want to see the things that you started to do right after May 19th. You said, I've already started working on things this morning. This is May 19th. I've already been to the city of Akron.
Yes. This is a receipt showing the $800 from the surveyor.
Okay, may I see that, please?
There's that one. This is a receipt from the attorney where I had the deed paperwork done.
I'm looking for a date on this, sir. I'm looking for dates on these things.
Look at this one, too.
Okay, June 15th. What is this?
That's actually when I paid to have the 3 deeds made up. That's the $450 that I had to pay to the attorney for him to make the 3 deeds up. And everything Stacey had to do was sign them.
And that was June 15th. That was not quite a month later.
Right. I started the next day.
Okay. And this is so far what you spent in reliance on her statement that I'll sell you the property for $1,000.
This is a breakdown that I have, that I wrote down, that you can show her that, of everything, the timeline. And
I don't need a breakdown of the timeline, sir. I need the bills for this, not what you wrote.
Okay.
I need the bills for 6 tons of gravel. That was in July.
Here's one receipt right here. Okay.
I'm a common sense person and a property owner. It was overreaching to think that you could buy a piece of that land for $1,000. Overreaching.
Julian Hall claims his neighbor, Stacey Benedum, owes for building costs and attorney fees. Stacey is countersuing, claiming Julian was illegally parking on her property.
Okay, so far all I have that you paid was $450 for the deeds, $800 for the survey, and gravel to be delivered.
I got the gravel in there. I also have the concrete that I had laid, flowers and stuff that I put in.
Did he pay part of having the tree stumps removed?
We split the cost and the labor of removing the debris of the trees.
No, ma'am, that's not true.
Who wanted the trees removed?
I never had a problem with the trees. I like the trees.
Don't speak.
He wanted the trees cut down so he could have more space. He was already parking underneath the trees with a smaller trailer, just not his truck. He wanted more space, so he came to me and said, hey, what if I split the cost of the cutting of the trees? I said, that's fine, I'll split the cost. That's fine with me. And then I agreed to let him continue to park there as long as there was no tire marks. That's what it was. And then he built this thing.
Well, he formalized parking there. Mm-hmm. Okay. At what point did Miss Benedum tell you that she was not going to sell you the property?
This actually started on 4/3 of 18.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in the beginning of these texts, where you clearly had discussions, trees were removed. I don't quite understand why she allowed you to remove the trees, and I don't understand the whole transaction.
Because it wasn't my choice.
Just a second, it was up. I don't care. You carved out a piece of property. Now, if you carved out a piece of property that belongs to her and you didn't have an appropriate agreement in writing, which it has to be, then I believe, based upon her statement that you acted on, you're entitled to whatever you spent to renovate that property. Do you understand? You're not entitled to the property.
No, I understand.
You're not entitled to the property. You're entitled to what you spent to renovate the property. So now I want you to tell me, on what date did she tell you that she was not going to sell you the property?
That was 7/20 of 21. After I got everything done and called her and asked her, could she meet me at the bank? She said, no, I'm not selling to you for $1,000. But it goes deeper than that. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. It goes deeper than that because when it came to the trees, I didn't approach her with the trees. She came to me and said, since the tree was done, I said, well, I'll go in half with you. At that point, I said, when can I use the property? She said, you can use it as long as you need it. So that's when I started investing all this money into the property.
So what? I don't care. She said to you, you can use it as long as you want.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I said nothing permanent.
She said, as long as I need it. That's why I invested the gravel.
Okay. What I'm telling you, sir, is the purchase and sale of property has to be with a certain formality. If you dealt with an attorney, the attorney would tell you that it had to be in a formality, signed by her, signed by you, the contract that provided for sale, when it took place, what the survey was, whether her bank would agree to let her sell off a piece of the property because you have a mortgage, all of those things. That's why agreements to sell real property, which is land, have to be in accordance with a certain set of rules. This doesn't make it. However, if you relied on her statement in order to improve the property, to make it comfortable for you based upon her text message, I believe that you are entitled, based upon the text message, to what? Are you still parking there?
No, ma'am.
Since when?
I would say September of 2022.
So you were parked there in July of 21, August of 21, September of 21, October of 21, November of 21, December of 21, January of 22, all the way up to September. You were parking there.
This is because we had...
Don't give me a because.
No,
that's either a yes or a no.
I was parked there, but we also had a civil case, too.
Which he dismissed 2 days before.
We had a civil case. She called the police.
He called the police on me twice.
The question was, when did she tell you she wasn't going to sell you the property?
September, when she agreed not to meet me at the bank. That's when she told me she wasn't going to sell.
September of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
I never knew we were meeting at a bank.
Just a second. So
I can do better
in
than that.
September of 2022, she advised you.
No, I'm sorry. It was August of 2021.
Well, show me in August of 2021 that you told him you weren't selling him the property.
Here's.
Okay, I'll take both, Kevin. Thank you.
And this was after she agreed.
Shh. Okay. I'm just looking for the date on this.
Yeah, there's not a date on there. I'm sorry, but that was after May 18th of 2021. That was maybe July or August of 2021 when I told him, since he didn't meet all the requirements, that I no longer want to sell it.
What requirements?
He never met the requirements of paying me the money or getting the land appraised. The only thing he didn't do that my mortgage required.
Get an appraisal.
I got the land surveyed. She didn't tell me about nothing about appraisal until after I got everything done.
That's why you have a contract in writing for the sale of property, sir. I don't think you did anything intentionally wrong, but there was an appraisal that was necessary. Clearly, if she has a mortgage and a bank is giving her a certain amount of money on a parcel of property, and she wants to sell off a piece of that property, the bank is going to want to know how much the value of the property has diminished by her selling it to you. So you have to have an appraisal. Do you understand?
I understand that.
Okay, and you didn't have an appraisal. I'm not going to tell it to you again. And all I want to know is when she first told you that you didn't have a deal. So once she told you that you didn't have a deal, whatever else you invested in this property was on you.
No, and I didn't invest anything else other than getting an attorney and paying everything I needed to pay him.
Once she told you that she wasn't selling the property to you, what'd you need an attorney for? You're not the aggrieved party here. You got to park for free because she was a good soul. I would have had your trailer and your truck towed to it.
Julian Hall has accused his neighbor, Stacy Benedum, of breaking their agreement. Stacy claims there was never an agreement and is countersuing for parking fees.
Once she told you that she wasn't selling the property to you, what'd you need an attorney for?
Because I had already had an investment after she said she was going to sell it to me. Once the attorney got involved, he told me to dismiss the case. Then after that, like 3 days later, I moved off the property.
Just a minute. So who brought a civil case?
I did.
When?
Last year of 21.
And what happened with that case?
It was dismissed.
What did you bring a case against her for?
For breach of contract.
It was dismissed because there was no contract.
Your Honor, can I say something?
What?
He made all these improvements in 2018 before we ever discussed selling the property.
You mean he put the gravel in?
Yeah.
Well, how could he put the gravel in down in 2018, well before this?
Yes.
So you did use it. You used it for how many years? You used it 18, 19, 20, and 21. You used it. You used it. You had value from it. You had value from somebody else's property. You used her property for you to park on. You can't.
I wouldn't have done none of this if she would have told me no. Every move that I made, I asked her first. I got it in a text message. I asked her, can I do this? Can I do this? She said, yeah, go ahead and do it. If she would have said no, I wouldn't have done none of it. I wouldn't have put a dime into the property.
I'm not going back to 2018, sir. If you made these improvements in the property in 2018 or 2019, before there was any hint of a writing that she was going to sell you property.
She had a verbal that I can park there as long as I wanted to.
Okay, your case is dismissed, Mr. Hall. You don't have a case. You did park there until she told you not to park there anymore. And you had the benefit of parking there for at least 3 years.
I got money invested that she told me
you
that
had
I
the
can do
benefit
it.
of parking your things there for at least 3 years. Are they gone now?
His truck and trailer are, but the gravel's still there, and we have to clean up, get rid of that stuff.
It was a huge mistake, so you're going to have to take care of that yourself.
Okay.
And I would take care of that because that looks ridiculous.
I will.
That looks ridiculous. You have a counterclaim.
Yes.
For parking, forget it.
But listen, I told him he couldn't park there back in May of 2021. He continued to park there till...
So you should have been more vigilant.
My attorney didn't notify him till May of this year, of 2022, that if he continues to park there, we'll charge him $75 a day. And he continued to park there until the case was dismissed in August of 2022. So I'm only suing him for...
Do you talk to him?
No.
Had you talked to him previously?
Yeah.
We had a good relationship.
I'm a common sense person and a property owner. It was overreaching to think that you could buy a piece of that land for $1,000. Overreaching. And if she had it appraised, and if it's something that you want, and she had, I guarantee you that that little piece of property would be appraised at a far higher cost than $1,000. Guaranteed. And I guarantee you that her bank would say, you can't let him buy that piece of property for $1,000. How much of a mortgage are you carrying?
$76,000.
Not going to let her sell off that piece of property. You had the benefit of that piece of property for several years. I have to tell you that I really think that it's much nicer to look at plain grass than it is to look at a trailer and a truck from her backyard.
Your Honor, I wouldn't have done none of it.
I don't.
You would have said do it.
Do you know what your attorney said to you? I can't help you. You don't have a contract. And Mr. Hall, that's what I'm telling you. I can't help you. You don't have a contract. And from what I know now, this all started in 2018 before there was any discussion of buying the property that you can prove to me. Because the thing that you gave me was in 2021. I have to tell you, you never had a problem because she was a good neighbor. If she let you park on her property, so if you think you're the one who's been aggrieved here, the truth of the matter is I don't think that you're the one who was aggrieved here. She let you park on her property. I have to tell you, I wouldn't have let that happen. I had a neighbor who had an easement. And I said, all I want from you when I bought the house was I want you to say that you will never try to claim this property by adverse possession and that you understand that it's my property. And then you can use it because it was a place that looked like it was part of his driveway. Mm-hmm. And he said, I'm not signing that. I said, if you don't sign it, I'm going to put a fence right in the middle of your front lawn, which is where I'm a fence right in the middle of your front lawn because that's my property and you have an easement. And he didn't sign it. He would have lived with the fence until today because it's still there. Now his children are living with the fence because he's gone. You're not the aggrieved party here. You got to park for free for 4 years. For free. Because she was a good soul. She's not a bad guy. She was a good soul. I would have had your trailer and your truck towed to an impound on day 2. She let you park there for 4 years.
I wouldn't have been there.
Goodbye. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
She knew what type of work I did, so she said as long as I needed it.
It was just a tough lesson of being nice to the wrong person.
It did look like it was part of my yard, so I get that part.
I hope we can be cordial and just move on with our life.
It is what it is.
This is a great example of the statute of frauds and why it exists. So all writings for the sale of land, real estate, have to be in writing and signed by both parties. I'm sure it was created for situations just like these. There's a lot of moving parts. There's mortgages, there's banks involved a lot of the times.
There are easements, there are water rights,
exactly.
There are all kinds of things.
Legally, they're some of the most complex documents that get drawn up. So it can't be a text message for $1,000 to sell off a piece of land without all the boxes being ticked.
Right. After May of 2021, when she wrote that piece.
For his detrimental reliance on the statement.
For his reliance on that statement to his own detriment by putting in gravel and other stuff.
But then it came out, it was way
before.
Put
down in 18 before she ever said anything about selling.
Took it upon himself.
Former friend Joshua Ulrich for cryptocurrency profits and equipment.
Mr. Rigo, you and Mr. Ulrich were friends. You were traveling together for business. What kind of business were you in other than this cryptocurrency?
First off, we weren't friends initially. We were first business partners, and we worked together underneath my mentor through his company, Symbio. Yes.
Okay. And what kind of business?
It was teaching workforce development for, I guess you could say, people who needed skills so they can be prepared for engineering jobs.
Okay. You worked at the same company?
Yes.
Okay. And when did you decide to go into this business together?
Around January to February 2021.
This has to do with cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Okay. This cryptocurrency business that you went into together, did you form a company or an LLC?
He had already had a company established. I was doing it more as a recreation, but...
So the answer is you and the defendant, when you wanted to go together into this business, did not form a separate company?
No.
So individually, it is your claim that you spent whatever profits there were in this new company. And quite frankly, I know nothing about cryptocurrency. I am of the Charlie Munger school of cryptocurrency. I think it's all about the emperor's new clothes. And unless I can feel it, touch it, taste it, smell it, or bite on it, it doesn't exist. So I want you to know that's where I'm starting.
Yes.
Okay? So you're going to explain to me what the business was that you were doing with him that involved buying $20,000 worth of equipment, which you now say is in his possession that you want back.
Yes.
Cryptocurrency.
Okay. He mentioned that he knew how to mine cryptocurrency.
Okay.
That's how we
now
produce it.
I understand that those are the words that you use. Where is the mine?
May I explain cryptocurrency to you a little more too, Your Honor?
Oh, I'd love to hear you.
Okay, sorry. It's not like mining gold.
Yes. It's not like anything. It's like the emperor's new clothes.
Yes, ma'am. But essentially, cryptocurrency...
That's why it collapsed.
Yes. Cryptocurrency mining is just...
You know that it collapsed.
Oh, yes. It collapsed.
Everybody knows that it collapsed.
Yes, ma'am.
Charlie Munger predicted that a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am. But essentially...
Do you know that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So what you were involved in is a shill game of Emperor's New Clothes, which would have involved all of your investors. Who was it that created cryptocurrency? The Winklevoss?
I don't know who created cryptocurrency.
Brothers? I don't know. Not sure. In any event, somebody had a vivid imagination.
Yes, ma'am. But all crypto is we essentially use our computer resources, specifically a piece called a graphics card that is really good at solving equations. We essentially solve equations for money. That's really all mining is. And
You
so we
solve
generate revenue.
equations for money.
Yes, ma'am.
What equations?
I don't know the specific equations. Essentially, the equations are so complex that when you solve them, you're rewarded for your time and the effort that your computer put into it, and that's where the revenue or mining comes from. We were paid for validating these transactions.
You sound like a really bright young man.
I appreciate that, Your Honor.
You really should find something important to do.
I have changed sectors since then, Your Honor.
You have equipment that he paid for?
No, Your Honor. I would actually like to
Just
get in.
a second. I'm
Yes,
just
ma'am.
asking a question. I thought maybe we could resolve this. Show me what equipment you purchased, sir, the receipts for it, and tell me where it is.
And so we're not here specifically for the GPUs that he claimed.
The what?
GPUs, graphic cards.
Just a second. Don't say anything to me, sir. You have a counterclaim for equipment.
I have it for equipment and cryptocurrency assets.
I'm not bothering.
Tobias Eagle claims his former friend, Joshua Ulrich, owes for cryptocurrency profits and equipment.
I contribute Ehrlich for cryptocurrency profits and return or value of equipment.
Yes.
I'm not concerned about cryptocurrency profits because I think cryptocurrency is a whole lot of who shot John. And the only ones that probably got skunked are any investors that you put into cryptocurrency.
Well, it still has value, so.
Well, you know something? You tell that to all the people who lost billions in the last 2 weeks. Would you mind just showing me the equipment that you purchased and receipts for it? I didn't ask you for anything.
Yes, Your Honor.
Equipment that you purchased. Okie dokie.
And so for this equipment, it was purchased through an auctioning site. And so they only have a year delay, and then that was the only information I was able to receive from them.
That's not helpful to me, sir. That's not helpful to me at all. I can't, what am I supposed to do with this?
That's just showing that I have proof that I purchased the equipment.
Doesn't show me how much.
It wasn't how much I bought it for. It was because I plan on rebuying the equipment. And so that's just proof that I bought the equipment and that he has it.
That is battery backups.
Yes, and there were specifically 12
and
of those.
2 Dell towers.
Yes.
Everything here are things that you want back from him.
Yes.
You have nothing in your house of these things.
Of those things, no. Those are in his barn right now.
Okay. Do you have these things?
No, Your Honor.
Did you ever have this in your possession?
Yes, at one point I did have it in my possession.
When?
I had it in my possession when we were at a shared facility that was in Rancho Cordova.
Now you're not in a shared facility anymore.
Yes, ma'am. Since we were in a shared facility, I have never had the equipment in my possession. Furthermore, the equipment that he's talking about has nothing to do with this case. This case is primarily around the assets.
You have no idea how simple I'm going to make this, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
He has receipts for certain equipment.
I have receipts for more equipment, and I have a very
Just a second. You have a counterclaim for equipment.
I have it.
No there
problem,
are no
Your Honor.
cryptocurrency assets. Where is the equipment that you claim he has that belongs to you?
It's well, it was originally at his house when we moved out of the facility. I relocated all of it to his house. I have an inventory ran on the last day I was at his house, marked with the location, the equipment, and a lot of details. I would love to show it to Your Honor if that's acceptable.
Just a second. Do you have...
On that list? No.
No. Do you have any equipment at your house?
Yes.
What equipment do you have at your house?
The graphics cards that he's talking about.
So you have the graphics cards that belong to him?
No, they belong to me mostly. So I bought most.
What do you mean that they belong to you mostly?
I bought most of the graphics cards. He put in some money for some equipment expenses. And for my estimates, which I wish I could have asked him, was around $3,000 that he put in. And I put around $15,000.
How do you expect a court to dissect this business mess that you've created?
I'm not here for the GPUs or graphics cards. That's why I completely left them out.
No, but he has a counterclaim.
And that's fine. He can present it.
I understand that.
Sorry.
How do you expect some gold?
Understood.
I don't have any value of what you claim you spent for this because there are no amounts on it.
Yeah,
well, that's a problem.
I do have documentation, Your Honor, of all of it, and it's labeled who purchased it and the amounts. In addition, the second page here has the totals that he was talking about, and the documentation pages are below
now,
that.
Great. There isn't a lot of very expensive stuff that you paid for, Mr. Ulrich.
There's not too much, no.
No, there isn't too much expensive stuff here, right?
Yes,
you know, we have something for $24, something for $15. You paid for the little stuff, he paid for the big stuff.
Two things, Your Honor, that I would like to mention. First of all, he did not purchase $20,000 worth of assets. This is a highly inflated number. I can actually prove this.
Just a second. You didn't have a formed company together. It's not a company asset. It belongs to each of you. You're not in business anymore.
Yes.
So all I have to know is what do you have at your house and what do you have at yours?
He has everything, including all the physical assets. The only thing that I have at my house, Your Honor, is, or it's actually on my computer, technically stored in a digital wallet. A digital wallet is the same thing as a regular wallet. This is just how we store cryptocurrency.
I don't want to care about that. I don't care about that. All I'm talking about is equipment.
So I have no equipment at my house, Your Honor.
What equipment does he have in his house?
He has everything that's listed on that document that I gave you. And I actually do have proof that he has it because...
I'd like to see it.
So these are text messages from my roommate to his mother.
From who?
From my roommate. He was supposed to be here as a witness.
If he's not here, you can't show me texts from him.
He wasn't able to make
Well, you can't prove something to me via hearsay from a witness who's not here.
It's not hearsay. It's just text messages that he gave.
That's hearsay by a person not here. You know, I actually don't think that you're ready to have this case tried. I can't help you. You say you don't have anything in your house. You can't prove it. I can fix the dollar amount, but I can't do that unless you have what you paid for it.
I have documentation here that at the value at which I have to pay to buy it back. Because since it was through an auctioning site,